A girl with sea green hair asks in a calm voice if the man is going to kill her, and he grunts in surprise. If what is already destined to happen happens, the lady would very much like it to happen painlessly for her. The blonde does not understand what the mistress is saying because he considers himself a faithful servant of the girl who clearly understood that he was not capable of such a thing. This devoted man, as Selena knows, in the future attacks the maiden with magic, forcing her to experience unprecedented pains of body and soul. The most terrible type of character is now standing in front of the beauty, lowering her voice. She seriously asks to forget about magic, because it will be better this way. The man smiles, saying that it was a good joke. It seems that he has completely lost the remaining drops of shame that forced him to do such a thing. The lady woke up in this world just a few days ago, and it is a book called Crown of Dawn. This lousy novel was previously read to my sister, who loves fairy tales. To be honest, the heroine did not consider what was written on the pages interesting at all, but she had to get over herself because in this world, the lady lived only for the sake of the girl. The character was adopted as an orphan by a married couple who did not have children of their own, but very soon they were made happy from heaven. Unfortunately, my sister was in extremely poor health from birth, and her parents blamed Selena for all the misfortunes. They mocked her in every possible way. From childhood, the lady was taught that her whole life was devoted to the poor youngest, and therefore what to study and what job to find revolved around her. Everything was decided for the sake of someone, but it was not a real girl, because she clearly wanted something else without understanding what exactly. At times, the brunette hated the beauty, since she gave up her life for her, but seeing her on the bed without strength, she swallowed the hatred. The two's relationship was unstable. They hated each other as much as they were supposed to, and therefore there is no simple explanation for this. Soon the girl left this world, and there was no time left to understand the situation. The need for heroine disappeared, and her parents sent her away. When the lady found herself on the side of the road, her desire to live completely dried up with no intention of returning. Until now, the girl existed by the grace of others, but now she doesn't know how to be alone. She is incredibly tired. I don't even have the strength to take care of myself, and I don't want to struggle with any difficulties anymore. The lady is tired of everything, even though now she sees the reflection of her sister. It is strange that a pale figure remains in her memory, which has completely weakened. If her family was what the girl lived for, couldn't she really get better for at least one moment and become a better person? Now everything will be fine, because a slow end is coming. Tears are dripping and merging with the puddles, turning into meaningless water. Unfortunately, it is no longer possible to discern where happiness is and where sadness is, because it will be impossible to separate what has happened. It no longer matters. The moon merges with the month. They slowly enter each other's phases, trying to become one. Her eyes open slowly as Selena tries to look around. It feels like she's been reborn into a new world. The room is too bright, and maids are scurrying around, preparing the mistress's room for a new, wonderful day. The woman rushes towards Selena, screaming that she misses her. She looks sweet, but the sound almost makes her ears bleed. Within a few minutes, the whole family of the new heroine is in the room. The daughter fell down the stairs and woke up only 4 days later. It seems that the woman does not remember, but in fact the whole family was worried more than others, constantly thinking about what would happen next. I want to say at least a few words, but the realization quickly comes that it will be unrealistic to say anything, and this makes it painful. The doctor reassures everyone, because the difficulty manifested itself due to several days spent in bed. He is even surprised that she woke up so early. If the girl understood correctly, then the young man nearby is Duke Aaron Huat, Selena's older brother. He is not going to leave. There are parents nearby who offer to help. Somehow the Duke reassures his wife so that she does not worry about what is happening again. After what happened in her past life, the lady realized that she had been reborn as Selena. This could only be a dream, but it seems the truth has caught up. White is in bed, but where the real person is will remain a mystery. She also had to move somewhere to make it easier. The mistress decides that she doesn't want to think about anything for now, so she lies back on the bed. They brought her dinner in bed from the chef. There is too much food for a sick person's diet, but there is nothing wrong with that, because after all the stomach is empty, so you can eat everything at once. Sitting in bed, the girl tries to clear her throat, even if it doesn't work for her right away. She realized that after a couple of days, her voice seemed to begin to recover. The lady is still wheezing, but understands that it will be easier to survive this way, since ultimately she will go to recovery. Selena's parents appeared in the room again, wanting to ask about her well-being. Answering that everything is fine, the heroine receives an enthusiastic reaction because now she has less worries about how things are going in general. Perhaps the lady is too sensual, but it is quite unpleasant to call complete strangers mom and dad, even if you have to. The girl sincerely hopes to soon understand what is in her head, and where they all are. She needs to get as many answers as possible in the near future. A man stands at the window with a tray. Words continue to ring in his head that he should forget about magic, as this will be the best decision in this life. The parents were depressed when they realized that the baby didn't remember anything. The heroine's father was the Duke of Hoite, and the Duchess was her mother. She also has a brother, Aaron. To understand the truth, the brunette begins to ask about Lucas, or about the Holy Virgin Ariel, or the maids. The blue-eyed girl shakes her head negatively. A party is mentioned. The lady thinks she knows what it is about, but in this case she was just reading without details. In that stupid novel, the villain who was causing trouble for the others was actually named Selena, the one who did it. That faithful servant is, as far as we know, an orphan, whom the mistress brought to her estate in the hope of saving him from the street. Perhaps the guy didn't like everything, because he was made his servant and used as a slave in many things that he definitely didn't want to do. The hero, obviously, was not loyal to Howitt, and assessing the situation simply went with the flow, hoping that one day he would be able to become happy. This man will eventually be the first to betray the girl and try to kill her. Turning away, she asks to leave her alone and go away. The lady would like everyone to leave the room, including her parents. She is almost recovered, but she needs more peace, so the solution will be the best. The room became completely quiet, and this only made it even more pleasant. The bed was soft and there was no fluff that would get into your face. The girl thinks about the bed, but then begins to examine herself. It is still difficult for her to believe that she has become Selena herself. The villainess was a greedy woman. She was envious and wanted everything she did not have, including the dukedom, which was inherited by Aaron. Accordingly, there was no talent to satisfy her desires. She worked day and night, but it did not bring results. The brother, unlike the heroine, was an outstanding student. In other respects, he was also superior, and it did not take long for the maiden to begin to act. Selena bewitched the guy, making him fall in love with a young heroine named Ariel. She even managed to melt the ice between the two. Ariel's allies soon found out what had happened and disappointed her, after which they immediately imprisoned her. It was not possible to get what she wanted, and the girl was seized by illness. At the age of 23, she died in captivity. The fate of the character was terrible. You can't argue with that, but still the girl would like something new better than this. The lady does not intend to work for anything, so she decided that she would die when it was intended. There is no desire to arise either. We can say that the heroine, in principle, never had a desire to cope with difficulties before. She jumped off the roof of her own free will without hesitation. Yet for some reason, God used the body of another person and connected the soul with the body, which of course at first glance seems meaningless. Falling asleep, the brunette woke up in the ward next to the bed of her sick sister. And her parents. Too many different thoughts crawling into her head. When this child died, the character did not shed a single tear. She only thought that her duties were finally over. Now the heroine is standing right in front of Selena, who is howling in pain, trying to turn over in the cell. Perhaps these are the last moments of her life. The girl desperately grabs the bars, screaming about something in complete despair. She really wishes that someone would help her, or that things would get better. I would like that at least at the moment of death, someone would stand up for the lady and make sure that she would feel good. But this did not happen, alas. The girl doesn't want to die completely alone. Sitting in this cold room completely alone, without any support, she is incredibly angry with herself. The brunette can't help but say that the sight seems terrible. She backs away, trying to make sure she doesn't get hit, but doesn't know why she was called. When Selena was on the edge, she was very different from her past self. She just wanted someone to stand up and help with the way things were. The girl wanted the heroine, who also died alone, to help make her wishes come true. But she missed the moment that she jumped of her own free will. Now, you can't choose or do anything, because the lady lives in Selena's body, and therefore will die at 23 without the given choice that she was given. Again, a strange feeling. It would be nice to listen to the requests of the deceased person. As a result, too many problems appeared. From that day on, the lady decided to try to live this life well, and most importantly, fully. First, she tried to leave her chambers. Wherever the lady went, maids were fussing about, literally giving no peace. There were too many servants, and it was tiring. The decision was made to calm down and think about what to do next. It is not so important that Selena died in misfortune, because she did it herself. The weather is great outside, which also makes your soul feel much warmer and better, and the lady closes her eyes to take a nap. The rustle from the side is a little embarrassing, but in the end, there is nothing wrong with it, because the lady is a duchess, and therefore nothing bad will happen. The eyes close, but after some time the lady jumps up again because there is too much noise. There was an unexpected character in the distance, waving a sword in an attempt to conduct proper training. Obviously, there was no training ground in the residence, so the lady sighs. She will pretend that no one is there. It was better to find some other place, but something happened that the beauty could not have expected. Her hair got tangled in the branches. The strands are thin and delicate, so it becomes too painful, and they break, but it seems normal because this is how things were in the novel. Very quickly, I was lucky to realize that if in such a situation you don't call for help, then most likely nothing good will come of it. The lady draws air into her lungs and calls the blonde. He does not immediately understand where that same person is, but then lowers his head down. The man went somewhere instead of helping, but within a second, he was behind, thereby scaring the beauty to death. He sits calmly at the table and eats a wonderful cake. He loves something so sweet that it generally seems excellent to him. The magician cannot believe that the lady told him to rest and eat cake on the balcony. He cannot help but be happy. I would like to know what the girl is doing now, and for now, we can only hope that nothing unexpected will happen to her, and that everything will be fine. The man with the sword bows to show his greeting and asks for forgiveness that he has not been seen or heard for so long. Everything is fine, but it would be nice if the young man still helped, since it was not possible to untangle the hair, even though the lady tried to do something. The hero looks attentively at the girl for a minute, and then bursts into laughter, as if he found something funny in what was happening. You want to scream and then scold the hero, but in the end he didn't do anything. So he has every right to laugh as much as his soul desires. I've definitely seen this character before on the pages of a book. He's an elite writer of the family that Selena ended up in. The girl tries to remember the name, but nothing comes of it, so she gives up, so that nothing goes wrong. The young man calls him himself. If help is still needed, the blonde will be happy to provide it with a smile on his face that actually seems friendly. While the man untangles the light strands and the beauty yawns, he can't help but think that Hoyt doesn't deserve to be a duchess. Everyone in the family is very good-natured people who wouldn't hurt even a fly, but for some reason, this girl is the one who is hunting for the inheritance. As soon as it became known that her brother would inherit the duchy, she began to insist that she should be in charge of these lands. In addition, the girl continued to pursue the saint, whose marriage had been rumored for several days before. If their triumph had taken place, it would have secured Aaron's right to inherit the throne, which also could not be anything good. So far, this has not been a problem for a moment. The dukes know about Selena's bad behavior, but everyone remains silent as Ariel does not want to attract the attention of gossips. Still, such a person is completely unsuitable for the role of a duchess, which is not strange. She is suspiciously calm today. The man was told that the girl had lost her memory, but something else had changed in her, and this was suspicious. The previous duchess would have ordered everything to be burned and screamed. If this is so, then the meeting of the society will not be affected. It would be better if the girl's memory did not return at all, so that it would be easier for everyone. Quickly completing the work, the young man says that he is finished, and she, looking with a calm gaze, thanks her for the help provided. The character named Lucas, of course, is the one who fell in love with the saint, and then tried to do something as. In the winter when Selena turns 19, it all began on that day. Ariel, who was waiting for Aaron, fell into a trap and faced a terrible cold. The guy saved her, and then, despite everything that happened, she says goodbye to her future husband, who stood up for sister and falls in love with another. Spring, a few months after the incident, has only gotten better so far. He perceives his future wife as nothing more than a classmate at the academy. Perhaps now the relationship with Selena will improve, and in this case, we can only rejoice because there is a small chance. If the Lord liked the lady, they could become friends. The man could swear that it seemed to him as if the lady was asking for a kiss. If Lucas, an honorary and distinguished equestrian of the ducal family, mourned at the Duchess's funeral, then a miserable death could be avoided. You can't ignore it, because if you get close, the young man will come to the funeral. In friends, only quality is always important, not quantity. The blonde frowns, saying he's sorry, but they can't be friends. In fact, it seems like he doesn't care either way. In this case, nothing can be done, but this does not mean that the lady will stop wanting. She is going to leave while saying goodbye. If you think about it, even in her past life, the lady never had friends. Even since she was a little girl, her responsibility was to take care of her sister after classes. Even when Selena became part of society, nothing changed at all. Her parents would hardly have allowed her to be friends with anyone. Everyone believed that other people were not needed, when you should look after your youngest. You should constantly feel sorry for her. It seems that one day it got to the point that in order to be close to her parents, and call them that, the lady had to agree to everything. Even after all that was said, and after what was done by the lady, she was still thrown away as soon as the girl was gone. I can't believe that today, the blue-eyed girl tried to make a friend for the first time, and she was rejected right to her face, which became the point of no return. As a child, the little girl often played video games in secret from her parents. Of course, this was something important, since nothing else was presented. There was one popular game among classmates that they constantly discussed. The interest generated was higher than anything else. Once in the game, the girl immediately encountered one of the strongest monsters, which reduced her happiness from the beginning. Now, Hawaii has a strangely similar feeling that is not going to go anywhere, as if she has completely cooled down to everything. The lady has barely reached her destination. If she rings the bell, then the whole house will tremble, which will already be considered something entertaining. The heroine, unfortunately, will not be able to fulfill the beauty's wish. She does not think that she can make sure that all people mourn at her funeral. Moreover, there is no certainty that the girl will come to terms with the fact that she will lie with her eyes closed while other people mourn their loss. It's a shame to realize that even if a girl lives a long life, it won't change anything. In the past, no matter how much Hawaii tried, everything remained the same. The heroine of this novel would still not want to die unhappy, so Selena is simply obliged to do everything in her power. The disease should not be as terrible as in the past, and death should be different. If you do everything right, then it will be so. Now the beauty is already standing near the edge, yet Selena is a duchess and a member of a family in which everyone cares and loves each other. As long as people are around, at least they can grieve the loss. It will be okay if you do as you want, and jumping will be a piece of cake. Unfortunately, it's like a vicious circle from which there is no way out. The girl again chooses death so as not to go through difficulties. Lucas walks up the path. He still cannot move away from the meeting and continues to think what was wrong with the Duchess. The accident deprived the girl of her memory, and this may explain the change in behavior and the fact that she did not leave the room for several days. This is where the information ends. But what was she doing there alone? What is much more interesting is why, after that, there was suddenly a proposal for friendship. Everyone has long known Howard's character, and it's completely out of her style to suggest something like this. She seems to have responded too carelessly. The feeling of uncertainty remains the same as before. The girl seems to have gone towards the bell tower, where the man's gaze is directed. Nothing can be done about this, but the bad feeling does not leave the chest. The blonde can only stop in the middle and think about what and how. If the Duchess had been a little disappointed by the refusal, she might not have felt so strange. Something went wrong. Only now does it come to the realization that the lady looked too lifeless at the time of the conversation. Lucas rushes towards the tower, which he can still see. Using his physical strength, the hero runs out onto the stairs in just 2 minutes and rushes forward to the blue-eyed woman standing on the edge. The hand grabs the waist, and the second clings to the wrist. In response to everything that happened, the lady only emotionlessly says that she is in pain. The Lord drops the beauty to the ground so that she can come to her senses and tries to somehow come to terms with this. She turns to him again. The next question, which sounds even stranger and is related to surveillance or something else. For some reason, you can hear carelessness in the voice again. The blonde tries to be as calm as possible, while he asks if the girl tried to die because of her refusal of friendship. The person who refused Selena could have been Aiden or a stranger, because everything was the same. Lucas is a good guy in all respects, and the lady, of course, understands this more than perfectly, so everything remains without question. Probably the young man now feels responsible for preventing the attempt. Perhaps he should have waited a little before going there. The lady doesn't really care, so without being embarrassed, she directly says that it's not the guy's fault. He asks again, but gets the same answer. A completely logical answer follows. The girl, unfortunately, cannot say why she tried to jump. You can always ask, but they clearly were not close enough to ask each other such questions the first time. The Lord was not guilty and did not do anything, so the best solution would be to mind his own affairs. What happened was just a misunderstanding. The blonde should just leave, but unfortunately, he doesn't do this, but simply sits in place looking at the back of his interlocutor. Obviously, there are still worries that the lady will jump as soon as the man leaves. The second time in a day will be too much, so she shakes her head negatively. It is not recommended to do this even once, because in fact death is not such an easy thing. Everything is too confusing. Always, even if you want to die. This does not mean that you will not hesitate when the time comes. Someday this will change. My back and buttocks hurt perhaps too much due to an unsuccessful landing, and now it becomes scary to think about how to go down the stairs. The ideal thing would be for Lucas to leave right now. Chances are he won't be stupid enough to follow right after the Duchess. A second later, the young man picks up White in his arms. He was about to carry her, because if he doesn't do this, he could end up stuck in one place for a very, very long time. Initially, the blue-eyed girl did not intend to go down in such a complicated way. It is already clear to everyone what exactly we are talking about. In order not to make contact once again, the lady closes her eyes and remains silent. Lucas hopes one day to find out what her friend was thinking about. The Duke screams in horror after hearing what he heard Selena said, that she had been wanting to take a walk for a long time, so she was released without questions almost immediately. The father almost loses consciousness. Not everyone can easily survive something like this and act calmly, trying to clarify the situation. The man has only one daughter, so he doesn't understand why she behaves this way. He would like to protect the baby from all the hardships of this world. Outside the window, rain slowly begins to gather, and then it pours like buckets. The old man sitting by the bed asks White what is bothering her. The lady directly says that the pain is only in the buttocks. If this is so, then I would still like to know why she tried to jump off the roof. Remaining just as completely unperturbed, the girl sighs, saying that everything around her is too troublesome to do this. There are no serious injuries, but the lady looks terribly worried. Perhaps to be completely happy, she would need to change her environment a little. The stress and fatigue from the memory loss took its toll, and combined with the emotional insufficiency and other things, it didn't end well. There is no effective way in this case. All you can do is observe how the situation is. Attempts to restore memory will only worsen the situation several times. If possible, then the girl cannot be left alone so that she does not do anything to herself. The Duke does not understand what to do. He is desperate. He asks Lucas to look after Selena so that everything is in order. Aaron also asks for help. Even he would like to do something good, but he doesn't understand what exactly the lady is suffering precisely because of him. The Lord was the son of a baron, and only thanks to the Duke was able to enter the academy. Moreover, he was given his own room. The couple treated the boy, who, by the way, was the same age as Aaron, as if they were their own son. Only because they were close does the young man understand how dear his friend is to his sister, who probably hates him. Aiden was also assigned to the beauty, but she almost immediately ordered him to leave. He asks for forgiveness, but this is not allowed to him. Yesterday, Selena still made a mistake, because of which, as a result, she was left with even more problems that would be difficult to get rid of. It looks like the blonde guy was put there to be close, just because they were the closest before. But in reality, this guy hates the mistress to death. The worst scenarios were already running through my head, which in the end did their service. A man can kill a lady while she is sleeping, but she does not want it. It seems as if the guy doesn't understand the meaning of the word leave, And if that's the case, he should at least stop standing like a pillar and not interfere. The hero is asked to sit down, and he thinks that this is some kind of test. Maybe he is not tired, but the girl is tired when they look at her intently. Still obeying the order, Aiden goes to the nearest chair and sits down. Howite looks at the ceiling again because she is incredibly bored. There are no interesting books in this world. You can forget on the internet too to listen to music. You have to call a whole orchestra. By rights, only Selena herself should be blamed for everything that is happening, because she made a mistake that acquaintance only made everything worse. But perhaps there will be another chance later. Because of the difficulties in order to die, you will also have to draw up some kind of specific plan. You need something that even such a person will like. In order to make everything come true, you will have to wait. But for now, it's time for sleep, which drags you in almost immediately. Aiden is still sitting in the room, not intending to leave, even after a few hours. The main male character visits the room almost every day, which is also quite annoying. The girl shouts something about the sign on the door, and the man immediately understands what's what, getting up from his chair. The guy goes to the exit. To clear her head a little, the beauty, as usual, got ready for an afternoon walk. Of course, her two faithful servants followed like dogs right behind her. The lady thought that if she behaved quietly, perhaps the situation would improve. But that was not the case. 5 days passed, and there was no luck in seeing any changes. In addition to the problems for 5 days, the parents came into the room and cried, saying that they were glad that their daughter was returning. If Selena had been a little more serious at the beginning, she would not have had to lead the strange lifestyle that is now revealed to her. Aaron can be seen in the alley in the distance, looking miserable as usual, and the girl almost feels bad about what's going on here. The guy asks how the lady is feeling. He was definitely worried about his sister, but since he knows her character, he tried not to say anything or ask. The beauty cannot believe that Howite deliberately did not even show his head because he was afraid of something. Amazing! Everyone gathered. The blue-eyed girl asks if they can take a walk, seeing the expression on her face. She shrugs, saying that it doesn't matter. Then, the hero is definitely not trying to refuse, so he actively nods. They will also return together, so there is no point in worrying about them. Aaron promises that he will look after Howite and will do everything in his power to prevent unnecessary problems from arising. The couple sets off into the distance along the alley. The girl asks the man how he is feeling, because in fact the young man looks tired. He's even a little scared, so he jumps away. In addition to everything else, the hero, of course, wonders whether his sister's memory has returned, but she just looks straight at him without words. Hovit slowly remembers, even if she never actually forgot anything that the rest of the family definitely shouldn't know. One can't help but wonder what they managed to remember. And it seems that there was something about the lady hating her older brother from the very beginning. The boy thinks that he will be hated again, and the lady knows well about victims who do not return a second time. For Aaron, everything is just for the sake of love. But for the girl, things are different, and she herself does not know what is wrong. The only thing that is known is that emptiness and pain in her soul. The man had not yet experienced the feeling of being abandoned, perhaps because Selena was different and behaved that way. Collecting all her thoughts in a heap, the girl asks for forgiveness. For the hatred she previously showed, she sees a surprised expression on her face. What happened was too sudden, no matter how you look at it. The lady looks straight, realizing that it could have been a complete shock. What happened cannot be called some kind of stupid joke. Now, Howite thinks that something has changed, because before his sister did not behave like that. The blue-eyed girl asks how long the two will follow them. Perhaps if the hero says right now that not everything is so bad, it will improve significantly. It is the acquaintance who must say something, because his relationship with everyone else is many times better until the heroine has fully recovered. Although it is difficult, she must be patient a little. It felt like the brunette was standing in front of her adoptive parents. She was different as a little girl with high expectations. Brother always wants to be loved, and therefore now he always tries to be good. He cannot do anything if he is thinking about something else. It's not clear what to do if something happens again. The problem is that the hero does not show his true feelings to other people. He only shows weaknesses to those in whom he is sure to be confident. Erin's true essence is just like the girl's. When she was little and lived in another world, she cannot notice a single difference. If the lady could meet herself, She would say that all expectations should be dropped, because in the end, these people do not value what they give. The attention is focused on the fact that in the past, Selena before her death hoped that there would be at least one normal person next to her who would take care. In this regard, all people are different, and to some extent, it may be something else the girl asks her brother to do her a favor. White told his parents that the Duchess wanted to meet with Saint Ariel. She insisted, so she would not back down. The father does not understand whether it would be right to allow the beauty to meet the maiden, because recent events have made everyone worry even more. Everything will be all right. The girl apologized and said that she regretted everything she had done. Her memory, although not completely returned, at least partially. Gritting their teeth, the couple agrees, because in the end, there was no other way out. The guy must be present next to his sisters. They set up a table in the garden, with 2 people at it. Ariel Frackrit was told that the Duchess herself had expressed a desire to meet with her, so it was not her right to refuse. In life, the beauty really looks like the main character. They look great with Aaron, and probably it's fate that gave it to them. Instead of making the older brother a hero, the author makes Franklin fall in love with his close friend, which is already unfair. You only have to look once to understand that the two are completely awkward. They are looking, trying not to make eye contact. The lady does not want to delay. Therefore, getting up from her seat, bows her head. She apologizes from the bottom of her heart for her actions. When introducing yourself or apologizing, you need to do it properly, so that it is clear that this is an adult lady. Ariel rushes forward, assuring that all this is not worth attention, because given the girl's condition, she deserves a rest and not to apologize. The lady sincerely promises that she will never do anything terrible, anything bad again. She would like to bless Ariel. Usually people don't change so quickly, but when faced with death, the girl began to think about human life in a new way as her opinion changed. Even if the maiden does not immediately forgive, there is no other way, because it's all Hovet's fault. She would only like to say that she wants happiness. The blonde holds the man's hand while she listens to everything that was said, and then smiling radiantly, thanks him for what he told her. Another day begins for the servants today. They must also try hard so that nothing bad happens, and this is the right choice. The butler noticed Aiden. Lately the guy has been getting a lot of trouble from the lady, and this is because, having lost her memory, the lady suddenly became like a different person. Everyone in the room is incredibly grateful to the man, because every time he protected them from the mistress and her attacks, which did not stop. It is still not clear whether it is possible to change so much after losing memory. Everyone is still confused. There was either a change in personality, or in that case, there could be something else going on here, and it was shrouded in mystery from the very beginning. The beauty lies on the bed without emotions, looking at the ceiling. Very soon, as we know, her brother will be engaged. In the novel, the couple didn't even have time to get married when they eventually broke up for a well-known reason. If Selena apologized, it seems that everything could become a little better than it was before. As soon as the lady called the princess and apologized, both immediately agreed on the day of the engagement, since now their relationship was no longer interfered with. Death can be delayed a little, because if you die before the significant day for your brother arrives, then the situation will be no different from the original. There's a knock on the door, and sure enough, Lucas was there. He noticed that the lady had decided to spend the entire day in bed again, no questions asked. About 2 weeks have passed since the man began visiting the beauty's bedroom, but she does not understand at all what he needs on a permanent basis. Although the blonde says that he is worried, he is very picky, and it seems that patience will completely run out, after which a scream will follow. Constantly sitting in one place is harmful to health. If you open the curtains, you can sunbathe right in the room, but this is not at all what you need. The girl was rushing around here, not just because it was troublesome for her to do anything else, but with every moment it seems that this is true. The man screams sharply when he hears that the lady has even become troublesome to live. She jumps up in fear on the bed. Lucas apologizes in time for his rudeness and asks her to understand his feelings too, because all she really can do is worry about her health. This man is undoubtedly worthy of an Oscar, because as you know, he is an experienced deceiver. Especially in public, he pretends to be a good-natured gentleman. In reality, the hero is very calculating, not counting Selena, the House of the Dukes, and the main character in this regard. Exceptions to the rules that are taken. It must be that if the girl does not get up, then this performance will never end, thereby bringing her to the end she has already seen enough. Still, it's better to go out, because once it won't do anything, the lady tries to get up, but not everything is so simple. Except for going to the restroom, she constantly spent time in bed. The heroine already opens her mouth to ask for help, but falls silent in time. She is well aware that if she asks for something now, there will only be many times more reproaches. Blue Eyes calls out to Aiden, asking him to help hold her hand while she tries to get up and walk to the door. The hero worriedly asks the girl if she is okay, and gets a strange look. She knows that he is also like an actor, because he is not really worried. Despite everything, the servant at least has a conscience. And besides, he is nice enough that the unnecessary problems in question do not arise. If we compare the options provided, Lucas is much more insidious and nasty, but then it is not clear why Selena fell in love with him. Mutual understanding is a part of human life, which is just as important. If you don't talk about your problems, nothing will work out. The lady wants to go to where she has everything, and at the same time, she wants to somehow live longer, even if she is treated like a servant or slave. Looking at her acquaintance, who does not leave the blue-eyed woman, sharply asks what his name is. Because she has not heard his name, she hears something incomprehensible. Aiden finally understood the real situation, such as he could be a good option, which seems great. Thinking out loud was unnecessary. Next to the girl is the man who betrayed her, and the one who imprisoned her. But she calmly walks with them without even thinking about it. It can be said that both are incredibly handsome. Lucas has silver hair and purple eyes, and also ideal facial features that are different. In the novel, the young man was described exactly the same, but now the lady had the opportunity to see all this live. The young man probably often uses his cute face. Aiden is a green-eyed blonde whose hair is so pure gold that it's even a little annoying. And if you think about it, he's much lighter than what he was introduced to when he first read the novel. Lately, the servant has been too gloomy, and it's not clear what's going on in his head. He can't believe that the mistress doesn't even remember his name. Taking a break from her acquaintance's bad mood, the lady overhears Lucas insisting that the lady get more physical activity. The young master is getting engaged very soon, and if you show up to such an event looking pale, the guests will be made to worry from the very beginning. Virgo promises to go for walks more often. Then they move on to eating and to be healthy. You need to sit up straight when you eat, or at least do it at the table. Everything can be handed over to relatives. But for now, the work is finished, because the girl goes back to her room. It would do well for Lucas to finally end his fake performance, which is actually making the lady very unpleasant. Having lost her memory, the Duchess changed so much that she stopped showing emotions, and her penetrating gaze became even sharper than before. Now the knight has become so curious that even without Aaron or the Howites asking, he will still keep an eye. The two are at a table in the garden, and they are drinking tea. The young man was thinking about something, so when the lady called him, he was quite scared. The hero does not eat or drink anything as if he is very nervous, and in fact you can see that he is on the limit. The blue-eyed girl decided that from now on, she will only eat and walk with Aiden, and so the choice becomes obvious. She becomes disgusted with other people. The blonde doesn't believe it, because unlike Lord Lucas, he doesn't have the power to ensure peace. If something happens, there will be no point in it. The hero can use magic, but this was unnecessary. Now a problem has arisen, because this person is one of the few who demonstrates his emotions openly. The handsome man laughs nervously, saying that he doesn't quite understand what we're talking about. He intends to continue to hide, but he must understand that he's given himself away a long time ago. The girl moves a plate of strawberry dessert closer. The guy loves desserts, so he should eat it, but instead he wants to ask something. The blue-eyed girl didn't even remember the boy's name, but then she changed. She knows that the butler, cook, and maid, whom the kind guy takes care of, bring cakes when something happens. In the novella, it was written that the unfortunate servant was afraid that he would be thrown out into the cold again, and with all his might, he clung to the house of the dukes, where he also did not like it. Every time young Selena bullied Aiden, the rest of the servants tried to brighten his days and brought him goodies in the process. The only taste of cake that the lady knew in her past life was chocolate. Once she came to the hospital to visit her sister with a cake, and she gave her a piece to try. The little girl never even thought that sweets could be tasty, but she simply accepted it because it was offered to her. The taste made her tongue go numb, so the beauty could never understand whether she really liked it. Unfortunately, before the girl did not understand anything, and now she blames herself for how she behaved earlier in relation to what was happening. She is distracted from her thoughts by a man who again calls Mrs. Selina. It is noticeable that she has turned pale while trying to collect her thoughts. The lady directly says that she hates this kind of sweets, so the friend agrees to take him away, so that he doesn't get in the way. The beauty carefully pricks a piece of strawberry on her fork, which melts in her mouth. The hero cannot understand what contributed to the sudden change in mood. From the moment the lady woke up, she looked at everything around her, as if there was no point in it, like a grieving child. Blue Eyes jokes about how this cake is the best she's ever tasted, and in some ways it doesn't have any bad consequences. Noticing the changes on the servant's face, the girl does not miss the opportunity to ask again if the dessert was literally the most delicious for him. Now when the Duchess is brought something that she does not want, they can easily dine together, and she can give it to a friend because he will accept it. The long-awaited morning has arrived. The maid opens the curtains to let the sunlight in, and when the lady asks about the time, it turns out that it's only 6 a.m. Today is Aaron's engagement ceremony, and in this case, you need to get ready earlier. It shouldn't take much time, but at least the woman herself hopes so. The girl plunges into a bath with cool, but at the same time warm water, which pleasantly envelops her body, and they are going to comb her hair. Because of the ceremony, which is supposed to take place very soon, everyone is fussing even more than expected. And this cannot but completely irritate. No one has a minute of free time to hold a wedding in the imperial palace. They decided to do it in the halls of the ducal estate, so it's no wonder they are all so busy. The jewelry Aiden ordered has already arrived, so he knocks to enter. Noticing the beauty sitting in front of the mirror, the young man freezes with cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Just a second ago, the young man was standing in the room, but he is already rushing along the corridor. Being a servant, he saw for the first time how a girl changes clothes, but then he does not understand what it is. Today, the lady realized for the first time how carefree her days were before she was reborn, as the daughter of aristocrats in this world. They look at her like predators. There is still obviously no choice. One of the maids asks to decide, because there are only 5 dresses left after 72 days of selection, which was personally carried out. Of course, the outfits alone are not enough, because next comes the agony of choosing shoes, gloves, and a fan, which all look beautiful. The girl is already quite tired, but the maid offers to admire herself a little before moving on to selecting a gem. The lady looks at the wonderful reflection. Although she understands that she will never get used to this alien face, she no longer remembers what it was like for her. Even after several minutes, she could not remember anything. She assures herself that she should stop because the face of the dead is usually forgotten. The real Selina's expression was definitely not as calm and indifferent as it is now. So the blue-eyed girl practices making the maids shrink. When there are so many people around, it is better not to grimace, so as not to get unnecessary problems later. If everything is fine with the lady, then it is better to proceed to the last stage, so as not to be late. To quickly put an end to everything unnecessary, the beauty calmly exhales, saying that, in her opinion, the one on the left will suit her. But then Lucas, who appeared out of nowhere, speaks about the one on the right. It was obviously too difficult to knock, so the hero behaved this way. The servants forgot to close the door since everyone was busy and running from side to side. The lady thought that if she said what she felt directly, then it would become a little easier for them, but instead she gave a reason to remove the mask that had been held on until then. The girl felt that she did not need the knight to accompany her at the wedding, but he said that he really wanted to do this. In the end, the decision was his. At least he stopped pretending to be a gentleman, which he was not from the very beginning. Every time the girl goes out, he appears and behaves provocatively, becoming too intrusive. Finally, the preparations were completely finished. The heroine cannot say that she was not tired, because in fact her whole body hurts after being driven from side to side. The image looks wonderful, so all that remains is to thank you for your efforts. If it were the real Selina, she would not have said this, so the maids bow their heads in fear, probably not understanding. Lucas, noticing the gaze on himself, begins to smile. He does it too, naturally and at ease, but if the Duchess does the same, it will look awkward. The blue-eyed girl asks why the hero came here today, She does not plan to go for a walk since she will be busy preparing for the engagement until the evening, and then she will rest. The knight came in advance, without warning about anything, but now asks to be allowed to accompany the lady to her destination. A rude answer is quickly heard that this can be asked of Aiden. The man, unfortunately, is just a servant. Even if he were a close associate of the Duchess, it is still unacceptable if the nobles are accompanied, because this way one cannot make a good impression. You'd have to be brainless not to understand that we're talking about social classes. The lady can get ready for an engagement without lifting a finger, and Aiden will always be left behind. The lady is wonderfully aware that sometimes the boy just stands outside the window, carefully watching everything and trying to understand what is happening, and sometimes he completely walks away from everything. This time he is also not allowed to go where the aristocracy gathers. The woman does not intend to tolerate this, so she asks why the attitude is as if this is some kind of completely unnecessary garbage. If we are talking about the higher ones, then they are all the same. Although the man is the main character, he laughs like some kind of villain. She changed her mind about the lessons of a spectacular smile, because there is not an ounce of truthfulness or benevolence in it. If the guy has finished with his business, he can safely leave so as not to get in the way. The blue-eyed girl needs to do something before the ceremony, so she asks to call the servant before he leaves. There is absolutely no need to rush somewhere, because the man was here from the very beginning and simply came when he was called on time. The lady truly did not manage to find out what real garbage was. All this was just words from a children's fairy tale about kindness and joy, of which in fact there is very little in this world. Selena, while still very little, found a blonde man in an alley. She noticed that the friend had a cute face, so she could not help but offer to go to the estate together. The lady who appeared before the hero was like a ray of light that year. The winter was harsh. So many children simply froze to death. Squeezing the outstretched hand, the boy thought that he could still live. Perhaps the child was about to be taken to a beautiful world, like a children's fairy tale in which only goodness exists. The illusion was destroyed in an instant. The baby turned out to have a terrible character, which she had to endure almost on a constant basis. She was dissatisfied with any unnecessary movement of the man. At the first meeting, the little girl extended her hand with a smile, saying that everything would be fine, and asked that now the young man obey only her. It seemed that everything would be fine. Words from the past gave hope and warmed the heart. Growing up young, Master Aaron always showed his best side as the heir of the family, and the girl, captivated by feelings of envy, could no longer hide her cruel nature. The Duchess studied from the same books, but for some reason her brother knows more than she does, which of course did not bring any joy. She followed the Duke's every step to understand what was wrong. The boy, unfortunately, could not even say a word about the master's training, but they constantly tried to punish him for this. The girl pointed out that she had picked up a homeless man, and now he is obliged to repay. In order not to be useless, Aiden was ordered to find out what books Howitt's eldest son was studying from, so that the lady could show herself much better at the next dinner. The absurd attraction reached the point that the lady ordered the books to be stolen, and when the young man refused, she began screaming about how much she regretted that she had picked him up earlier. To endure insults and beatings day after day was humiliating and unbearable. The boy just wanted everything to get better and just wanted to be happy. If it weren't for Howitt, he probably would have been lying by the side of the road, frozen to death. So the hero tried to cheer himself up, saying that it was luck that he did not suffer such a fate. At least he had a bed on the estate. Everything was the same. But one day, when he was about 17 years old, the young man thought about what was the difference between what was on the street and what was happening now. The realization came on the day when it became known that Aaron would graduate from the academy as the best student of all. The lady, in a fit of anger, tore the room to pieces and screamed. Being in despair, the blue-eyed girl threw the box, which hit the young man right in the face. He began to bleed, which made the girl even more frightened. The man, without betraying his emotions, assured that everything was fine. That day, something inside broke. Because it was the last straw, the hero was filled with an insatiable crimson desire to kill the one who caused so much pain and trouble. Imperceptibly, along with the blood, even tears flowed, which did not stop. Then, when the boy suffered from beatings on the roads, he did not cry, but here it was impossible to suppress the feeling of betrayal. It was too late to feel bad. A whirlwind of a beautiful purple color appeared around, which seemed to resemble magic. The cry of the soul turned into something strong, and then hope was found. The Duchess can be killed by force. It would be interesting to see her expression when she finds out that the useless servant has more skills than anyone else. I would like to understand how the person himself will feel when his revenge is finally accomplished after many years of terrible treatment that he did not deserve. For now, the hero decided to keep his ability to use magic a secret. At first, he thought about visiting the wizard's tower and asking if they would accept him, but it's not even clear whether there is any point. If he acted recklessly, the man would be denied access to the tower and maybe even kicked out of the ducal house forever, so he decided to act pragmatically. The best solution was to endure further, and for now, collect thoughts in a heap. The mistress's attitude became a little softer after that incident with the box. Although Selena had lost her memory, it was extremely funny to hear words about garbage and aristocracy. She was definitely up to something, but what exactly was not clear. The girl falls to her knees in front of Aaron, because before he said that, he regrets everything. But now, every time he apologizes, the girl is going to insist on her guilt. If the hero apologizes to his sister, others will think that she has absolutely no respect for her brother, so he promises that he will try. In any case, the lady congratulates with all her heart on the engagement, which has finally happened. She came in advance to congratulate before anything started. Obviously, exactly what the heroine came for was to congratulate everyone on the beginning of the ceremony. Then the beauty went to Ariel's room. The Duke's spouses always look at the heroine with eyes that love Selena, but not the one who is now in her body, only next to them. A feeling of guilt awakens in her, so calling her mom and dad becomes difficult. It will be a huge shock for the couple when they have to find out that she is not their daughter, but a person who has come to life in a body to correct the mistakes of the past. There is absolutely no desire to see each other, but the lady understands that she needs to be stubborn and accomplish her plan. She knocks on the door, saying that she has come. There seems to be no one inside, so the girl starts to leave the door, opens a second later, and a hug immediately follows from her mother, who is smiling. Today is a beautiful day, so the Duchess cannot help but be glad that her daughter visited them. They already had dinner together yesterday, but it seems that during this time, the family managed to get bored. The daughter came to express her congratulations before the ceremony, so of course they will be accepted. The father also comes out saying that this is one of the best days of his life. Tender eyes and voices that fill the heart with love, gestures of friendliness, and warm words of greeting are exactly what the lady could not receive in the end. From the caress, a shiver runs through the body, and the nose begins to sting because this has never happened. You need to calm down because the couple wants to see their daughter, and not an imposter. You shouldn't give yourself away, so the heroine gathers her thoughts to say something. She doesn't call her parents by name, which gives them a ton of joy. The blue-eyed girl hugs her mother, thanking her for being so warmly received and for taking care of her to the last, despite all the actions from the past. Before Aaron's engagement, Selena also seemed to become more mature. This calming and fulfilling free love, perhaps, is what children receive from their parents. The girl would now like to know why the Duchess was dissatisfied. She never obeyed and was constantly raging, completely not understanding that they only wanted the best for her. Suddenly, the corridor became alien when the heroine first saw it. There was nothing remarkable in it, but now it seems that something has changed completely. Aiden wants to ask something, but the mistress beats him to it because she asks if she found the guy in that dark alley lying after everything that happened. The girl also remembers how she threw the box, causing blood to flow. The young man's mood changes, but he tries to remain calm. Obviously, this is really the same novel that the beauty read about, and now there is no way out because she will have to go to the very end. The baby is in the body of the heroine from the novel, and each time she becomes more and more convinced that she does not belong here because nothing will be better anyway. If a lady plans to die in a few days, she will not need this warmth, and she should not hold on to vain hopes in a world that she will not get used to anyway. There is nothing you can do here, and trying to correct yourself and past actions will not work. The lady was about to go down, but instead falls down the stairs. If you think like that, then even from someone else, You won't be able to get an apology or gratitude, which is logical, because, for example, the servant has not done anything like that, yet remaining faithful. If there was anyone Selena was grateful for, it was Aiden, but for some reason, now he looks angry, or more like saddened. The blonde would not have time to go down to save the lady, so he used magic, which lifted the body into the air in soft waves. The heroine turns her gaze to the stairs, despite the face of the servant standing next to her. If she had fallen, she most likely would have at least broken her neck. The maiden asks the man why he saved her. The maids gather around and ask if the Duchess is okay. Everything is fine, except that she's dizzy, but overall, nothing bad happened. White was quickly taken back to the room to fix her look, as her dress was wrinkled. Aiden is about to leave, but is quickly stopped. When the young man saved the lady, he used magic, and in general, one cannot blame him, because there was no choice left. Leaving the room, the hero remembers the words said by the girl. The girl used to live calmly, indulging her own whims, not worrying about other people's opinions as such. But for some reason, now her eyes became empty. The man himself began to wonder why he still saved the one who behaved this way with him. While remaining a nasty person, he could have simply killed her. Only now the character realized that he could not stand to see the mistress die. At the moment when she fell, everything seemed to freeze. Now the boy realized that from the very moment they met, and after everything that happened, he never really wanted to kill the lady. He only had one desire. The blonde ran into the room to say something, but at the most inopportune moment, Lucas arrived, announcing the start of the ceremony to which she was being escorted. The Duchess's hair is a little disheveled, which makes it clear that she needs maids to put her image in order. There is no more time to wait. The boy is about to leave to do what he originally intended to do. He is stopped, because earlier he wanted to say something, running into the room, shaking his head. He says that it is nothing important. The ceremony is just beginning, but there is time to look around, because everything is decorated too beautifully. The Lord invites the Duchess to the table with the Howite elders. Now the heroes of the occasion, whom everyone is already expecting, will come out to them all. The couple should be greeted with applause. Aaron comes out with Ariel and smiles at everyone gathered. He notices Selena and almost immediately lights up with joy, starting to wave his hand even more. There are too many thoughts, because there is no point in smiling, because the beauty is not a real person in this family. So as not to upset her brother, she reluctantly greets him back. There is literally chaos all around, and it seems that the lady quickly gets tired of what she has to watch. She turns away. After having to become Selena, the lady was pretty tired, because this is the first time she's been standing for so long. Her exit is coming soon, so it's worth trying as hard as she can. The maiden is rushed by aristocrats who want to talk. Lucas runs away when needed. Although the escort should behave completely differently, one of the beauties wanders around in a curtsy, glad that they managed to meet. She heard that her friend was not greeted. The girl can only thank her for her concern. But in fact, not everything is as bad as it seems. Although the friend heard that the lady had lost her memory, now it's like a different person who has changed before this. The lady would have been angry that the friend knew everything, but only came to visit now. The lady probably doesn't even remember the beauty's name. She is Vivian Jonas, from the family of Count Jonas. Their house is mainly engaged in the sale of clothes. It seems that the girl is trying to get closer to the blue-eyed girl before her memory returns. Even if she succeeds, the only thing she will receive is an invitation to the funeral in the near future. Next is a beauty with scarlet hair, who actively greets by waving her hand. In the novel, she was the villain, and right hand of Selena, named Mia, and was also famous. It seems that that lady played a role in shaping the bad character of the main character, which means that she is indirectly to blame for how the girl's life ended after all her torment. The lady's memory still has not returned, so she hastily apologizes for behaving this way. Her condition will improve, and when the girl gets better, she will remember who her only friends were. It would be nice for Mia to chat with her friend, so Jonas is accordingly obliged to give up her seat, which she already occupied when she started talking. As soon as there is no one left nearby, the red-haired girl asks if the maiden really doesn't remember anything, or if she's already planning something interesting. It seems that they were close before, but now Selena doesn't remember anything, so she's a little embarrassed. They were like sisters, or even better. And now, according to her, it seems as if they have become nothing to each other. The girl tries to make everything better, but the whispers spreading around do not help. The Duchess simply says something like that, although she doesn't even suspect what the girl had to go through to gain her trust. She tried to mock the weak together and gave expensive gifts. The heroine was told many words of flattery which seemed ideal, and she herself had an evil nature. If you create the right situation, she will definitely remember everything. Her mouth is dry, so the beauty asks the servant to bring a glass of lemonade. It won't be a problem for Ratchapel to run into Aiden again for no reasons. In her hands is the glass that the young man handed over. But before accepting it, Mia winked at her friend a second later. The contents end up on her dress, and a squeal is heard in the hall. Ratchapel shouts menacingly at the servant, because he probably has no idea how much her such an expensive dress costs. He apologizes almost instantly. The hero knew that the evening he was persuaded to come to would end like this. Mia pokes him with her fan, calling the man a rootless non-entity and humiliating him in every possible way. It was only thanks to Selena that he managed to live this long, so the guy should keep quiet and try to do a better job so as not to end up back on the street where he was picked up. Now the blonde is obliged to do what he must. The lady has not forgotten anything, just because they haven't seen each other for a long time, so she definitely doesn't intend to give up so easily. Mia orders him to kneel in order to beg for forgiveness. Better. However, as soon as the guy goes down, the mistress grabs his elbow, forcing him to rise back up. The blue-eyed girl comes forward, trying to express exactly what she thinks. Listening to the foul language was so disgusting that she thought her ears would rot at that very second. Today is an important engagement ceremony between the Duke, the eldest son of the Howitt family, and Saint Ariel, so Ratchapel has no right to make a fuss just like that. The girl claims that she is a victim because lemonade was poured on her clothes, but the lady does not agree to this because she knows who the culprit was. The lady most likely did not notice at first that it was about to spill. It's time to listen to the comments from the other ladies. The girl is now a little embarrassed by her first impression of those who have gathered together. The aristocrats, one after another, agree with what the Duchess said, because it seems to everyone that Aiden was not guilty of anything and was only trying to fulfill the order perfectly. They rush to Selena to explain how everything works here. Perhaps she doesn't remember, but before this servant was her toy with whom she was allowed to do whatever her heart desired. Like Rochelle said, she doesn't remember anything, but that doesn't mean there's a need to behave so horribly in front of everyone else gathered in the room. Perhaps when she manages to regain her memory, the lady will change her mind. But for now, nothing will get better. They were friends, so she should treat each other with respect and love. They used to be together, but in this case, it won't happen again. Mia should stop trying to establish contact again, because it's immediately clear that nothing really will come of this. Lucas, who has been standing aside all this time, finally steps forward to tell the lady that she doesn't look well, and they should go back to rest. Doing so was probably the best idea, since the girl had always wanted to attend her dear brother's wedding. But now she doesn't think she can hold out any longer than usual. The Lord shakes his head sympathetically, realizing that the beauty really needs rest, and then taking her by the arm, he is going to take her to his chambers where he can rest peacefully. Already on the way out, the Duchess turns around and extends her hand to Aiden. He still hasn't come to his senses while an offer comes in to go with them so as not to stay in this place. Be that as it may, now this moment is reminiscent of what was before in that alley. This is its owner, and only she can treat as she wants and can offer something that cannot be refused. The girl asks not to kneel anymore. When this means carrying drinks for others, a man should first take care of himself and not of the nobility. The boy did not expect that he would be asked to do something like that. It seems that he was going to ignore orders, which no longer seems like a good idea. The lady believed that she alone had the highest status that could be used. The girl pointed to her ex-friend, saying something quietly, as if she was asking the others around to laugh, which accordingly they do almost immediately. Rochelle cannot help but be angry. She cannot believe that, because of some garbage, all the relationships that she carefully built with the Duchess are beginning to collapse irrevocably. Behind you, you can see the girl's father, who looks more angry than disappointed. It's time to go home, so the servants promise that the carriage will be ready in a few minutes. The young man does not intend to take Mia with him, because this time they will get home separately. They nod, promising that they will convey everything, knowing that the girl is standing behind. The heroine again found herself in that same terrible dream, full of pain. She had always been cruel. But what then was she afraid of while bursting into bitter tears? Selena always says something, but her voice can't be heard. She'll just have to wait, because very soon what happened will end. The girl put things in order in her worldly life as best she could, but so far nothing has changed, at least not so dramatically. Soon, Hoet will go after the original, and will not regret what she did. Obviously, the body is not able to calm down until it is killed and left to God. The lady woke up in the middle of the night during the rain, which pleasantly knocks on the windows. The girl is tired of her friend appearing in her dreams, and when they are close, she will certainly kick her ass. When the blue eye first woke up in this new unknown world, it was spring, but now the weather is getting warmer because summer is beginning. Lucas asks if the girl has finished her business, to which she nods. It seems that her health is not the best, because she looks pale. Everything can be blamed on fatigue after the engagement. Even though after the ceremony she spent the whole day in bed, nothing has changed. Selena knows something that her friend does not know, because she spent the night with nightmares. The servants were allowed not to accompany the girl even if she was dressed so simply. Today they had organized, one might say, a mini day off, on which they could relax. The lady said that she wanted to go outside to restore her memory a little. Thanks to the Duke consorts, who were worried about Selena, it was decided that Lucas would come out too. Aiden, standing to the side, looks a little sad. The Lord comes closer, asking that the Dukes be told that the couple will be back before sunset. A young man is like an open book that can be read until he has enough. He must learn to control his emotions at least a little. Blushing, the man still pretends that he doesn't understand what is being asked of him. He should be careful for the sake of God's honor, and for his own sake so as not to spoil anything. You can tell that the attendant may not be feeling well. The lady noticed a slight change in behavior before they went anywhere. The girl falls and hits her tailbone because the carriage's wheel caught on some bump, which made it almost turn over. Each time they meet, the interlocutor asks if everything is okay, while quietly causing aggression, which is already difficult to restrain on an ongoing basis. There are too many people around climbing here and there, and the girl, without noticing it, moves forward, even without looking around. The man, again, has to ask if she is okay. To begin with, it would be best to go to another place, because the number of people, of which there are literally several hundred, is starting to make your head spin. This was more like the first time in the lady's life when she was engaged in tourism. I can't believe that she didn't know about how the condition could worsen when there are a lot of people nearby. Only because her younger sister was constantly sick and missed school, the girl was never allowed to go anywhere, even on school trips, which forced her to behave this way in the future. Lucas is a little worried about the lady's condition, so he persistently asks to be examined, precisely because of what happened recently. The hero constantly asks about his well-being. Before this, the beauty had not had the opportunity to say, but she noticed that recently, the Lord began to address Selena only by name. He ceases to be respectful as he should have been. Lucas from the novel always pretended to be friendly, and perfect manners were an integral part of him. But for some reason, now he becomes more familiar around the Duchess. The reason could be that Aaron is a close friend, but it seems that everything has fallen into place. The hero is trying to make friends with a lady who does not understand how they got to this point. In fact, if you make friends, then nothing terrible will happen. Initially, this was not the young man's goal, but now he begins to understand that they could try something new. What is said is received with hostility, so the refusal follows almost immediately. They should think about where to start the walk, but in fact, it will be quite possible to go to some uncrowded places. All this time, the Duchess was in search of a suitable place for her death. A quiet and secretive place where no one would discover the body would be the best option. They approached the only tower in the duchy, where there is a clock. Unfortunately, the young man will not allow them to go up there, so there is no need to think anything stupid. The hero is worried about the fact that the beauty often eats the food of commoners, which she buys on the street. He still cannot understand what this is connected with. Initially, the lady had no choice, so she ate what was given now. Despite the fact that you can choose anything, the girl remains restrained and tries to do so not to elevate herself. A loud cry is heard from a man who is outraged that a beggar woman from the street scratched his carriage, since he is dressed like that. It is clear that he will not be able to get something back. Lucas exhales, trying to calm down, although it is clear that he is quite tired of such scenes, wherever a person goes. Aristocrats create unnecessary scenes. He suggests leaving before more people gather. The maiden is not going to leave, therefore standing up confidently, she follows straight towards the altercation. If a cane is raised at her, the knight will be obliged to stop it so as not to hurt the mistress. The girl still cannot believe that she witnessed such a spectacle, which she clearly did not like. She remembered something that happened a long time ago. White can't just stand by and watch the horror she sees. She comes forward in front of the old man and asks him to stop, realizing that most likely nothing will work. He wanted to say something, but it seems that he realized that he was standing opposite, not just a ragged woman, but a real aristocrat. Stepping back, the hero assures that he just wanted to teach the child a lesson. Aristocrats are simply obliged to punish for mistakes, because if this is not done, it is not clear what will happen to the morality of society and the world in which they live. The lady hears talk from the crowd that the boy himself drove the carriage at great speed and then blamed someone else. She tears the cane away from the man. An angry cry is heard around that the girl does not dare allow herself too much, and now she must apologize and return the belongings back, preferably as soon as possible. When the guards arrive, White will say that she was hit on the knees, pretending that she did nothing wrong. In fact, no one will tell what happened. The old man also tried to shift the blame onto the boy. Although he himself almost knocked him down at great speed, the lady would simply have done the same with the one who was guilty. The Lord does not hold back and laughs when the rest of those gathered promise that they will confirm the lady's words to the guards, only so that the aristocrat gets what he deserves, as it should have been. The couple didn't know who was standing in front of them, but so be it. The man has a lot to do, so he's going to run away. Usually, only those who are cowardly do this. After that strange character has left, the lady sits down next to the young man, saying that there will still be a lot of strange people in the world, but this does not mean that you always need to indulge them. You need to be more careful. At the moment, the beauty turned out to be the strangest, so Lucas said that it was time for them to leave. In the alley, he noticed that the dress had become a little frayed and was almost torn. The knee should also hurt after what happened, but the young man, like a caring friend, clarifies that in fact there were no plans to break the cane. It was just that it had already come apart and then was unable to stop. The couple is about to go home. They take the shortest road possible, since during this time it costs to get back for this. They will have to go through a crowded place. It's clear from her face that the lady is pretty tired, so the hero nods that she immediately agrees she would like to quickly be home in a warm bed. They will find themselves at their destination immediately after the knight gets rid of the rats that followed them. It seems like something like this happened in the novel, but it is completely unclear where they came from. Selena stands behind the young man, who decides to disperse peacefully. They only have one bag of money with them, but if this is enough, they can disperse quite peacefully. The Lord tries to avoid violence because the Duchess is nearby, although it is obvious that nothing good will come of this. What is offered will not be enough, so the man asks what else is needed. The gang leader has been ordered to catch one rude girl who is pretending to be an aristocrat and then teach her a lesson, so it is impossible to refuse this opportunity. In other words, those gathered simply do not know their place, because they dared to want to take the lady when the knight who was ordered to protect her was nearby. Since this is the case, they should be ready to give their lives, and then not regret anything. Now the girl understood the expression on her friend's face. When he is furious, the atmosphere has changed a lot. The best solution would be to do nothing, because if someone dies, the Duke will immediately find out and understand that they tried to attack his daughter. She hopes to go out further, so there is no choice. Although the young man did not intend to engage in battle, the opponents did not think it was right. They rush forward, and they have to defend themselves. The hero pressed the lady to his chest so tightly that she could not breathe. To continue the fight and not let go of his companion, the man asks to grab him tighter and not let go until everything is over. At this time in the castle, the servants found a rat, which they killed since they should not breed. Aiden was sent to take the package outside to the garden. Carefully looking around, the hero lowers the mouse and then revives it. He woke up, and unfortunately, all the wounds could not be healed. But surviving Jane's blow is something incredible. The kid runs away somewhere into the forest. He should be careful and not get into the Duke's house again, so that the maid doesn't accidentally finish him off out of anger next time. Aiden asks himself to pull himself together. No one should know about his feelings, and it doesn't even matter how others look at him. If the mistress is the one who gives contempt, that will be the end. Howite curses the day she decided to go to this place. It's difficult for her to hold on to Lucas's body and not get in the way. But there's no point in complaining, because it's even more difficult for the guy now. The couple is so close that the beauty even hears the beating of her heart, which is quite measured. The guy carefully lets go of the girl, saying that it's all over, which means you can relax. The young man asks to let him know as soon as the lady becomes ill again, and in this case they can overcome it together. She tries to calm down. Someone attacks from behind, but Lucas quickly repels the obvious attack. The lady begs to go back, because she is quite tired of this. The couple slowly heads forward along the path, but after a second, the heroine falls on the asphalt. She tries to overcome the pain. In the garden, the maid is picking flowers just like Aiden, who is trying to help her as much as possible. It will get dark very soon, and now it seems the lady has arrived. The man throws the bouquet into Jane's hands, asking her to take it to Howite's room. A few minutes later, the hero found himself next to the butler, who expresses joy that someone has arrived. This carriage does not belong to the lady. Out of the cart comes an old man who looks strange but familiar, wearing a silver brooch and indigo clothes that make it clear. The man seems to be seeing a real magician for the first time, and it seems that he has arrived from some department. The Duke is already waiting for Mr. Allergan. The boy is unable to take his eyes off the one who is passing nearby. The newcomer also pays attention to the one who is literally glowing with happiness. People usually come to the estate to introduce new magical technologies, but this is the first time that a magician himself has come. Allergan chuckles, thinking about that blonde guy at the entrance. He clearly has potential, and the hero himself seemed interesting. The Duchess is sitting next to the knight, who is clearly angry with himself, judging by the way he is acting. There is a strange atmosphere in the air. From what was said, it became clear that the lady had broken that cane a long time ago, but only now her leg was hurting. The lady assumes that she broke her knee, but at this rate it happened even earlier. The pain should have manifested itself when walking. The blonde stretches his hand to his knee, but hears the sound of pain coming from the beauty. He hasn't touched it yet, but then he can imagine how painful it will be if something is done. To begin with, in order to understand something, you need to look at it from all sides in order to understand how it even applies. The lady, without being embarrassed by anyone, lifts her skirt higher, making her companion blush. The girl asks not to worry, and not to pay attention, because she just needed to examine the condition. But it would be difficult not to look at this. The leg looks extremely terrible, and should have started hurting a very long time ago, which can only be surprising because it didn't happen earlier. It should have been said right away. A new voice is heard behind the hero, heard that the lady was hurt, and decided that, in any case, he could at least try to help. The guy is kind of pale, so you might think he's a vampire. But it turns out he's a priest named Ian. He's going to do something. To prove his involvement in the temple, and not arouse unnecessary suspicion, the hero lifts his sleeve to show his insignia. If the hero is not in any trouble, then he of course can help. His leg begins to hurt even more, and therefore it is impossible to move on. The man comes closer and sits down near the bench, pressing his palms with force. The hero reads some kind of spell and thereby heals the wound. The couple headed back to the estate. Yang admitted that he saw how the girl saved the child from the raging aristocrat. The determination to help the weak, when it is not so difficult for oneself to suffer, is like a demonstration of kindness, an act that reminded the priest of his immaturity and the need for further training. The hero then said exactly that, but Lucas realized that he still did not understand why the lady had changed so much. She was the one who was called an indifferent monster. The beauty behaves as if she has become a completely different person, as if another soul has moved into her, and the most alarming thing is that same empty look. They drive past the garden where they once walked, and the girl is focused on the tower. It seems to become clear that she wants to die. Every time the warrior sees this bright scarlet sunset, the very memories that he tried so hard to avoid appear in his head. In the past, the guy already had someone die, which brought him a lot of pain, so now the lady won't have to go through the same thing. Night has fallen, but the servant is unable to sleep. Aiden has been tossing and turning in bed for an hour, and eventually, giving up, sits down. The magicians of the empire are a respected people. They are called lords, and they are in fact real aristocrats, who are many times better than others. That guy with glasses who stood behind then looked like an ordinary person. I would like to know what they would say about someone like a servant. The attitude towards commoners is probably a little different, which is unlikely to change even after time. The guy does not understand what to do next and follows to the window. The power of mana depends on the moon, which glows brightly. Being in the sky, he still cannot understand why he was able to obtain that strange ability. Even decades later, Lucas cannot forget that very sunset that changed his life. Then the young man was still just a child who did not know any problems. The boy called his parents to hurry up, but the father, laughing slightly, asks not to rush so much because they both know that mother cannot run. The hero remembers how things are and therefore runs back, clinging to the woman he values most in this world. The lady feels much better, but the boy's dad reminds him that not everything is so good, yet so there is no need to be selfish. Lucas was from a family of fallen aristocrats. His father hid his status and went to his regular job every day at dawn to get money. The baby endured no matter how cold or hungry he was, because all he wanted was for his mother to get better, and for her not to leave him. The woman always asked not to worry, and asked the boy to lie next to her to hug and give love. She would get better very soon. The hero quickly learned what the world could really be like, and what kind of people exist, and what they could be. It became known that the family found itself in this situation due to the fact that the aunt stole all the property. If only they had the same money, mother would have been cured. The guy's anger did not make the family less poor. The father volunteered to join the monster fighting squad under the command of his uncle Count Hunter. The man asked not to worry, even if it seems dangerous. If he goes to the battlefield, an acquaintance will help with the costs of treatment. Dad promised that he would return very soon, and everything would be fine. But while he was gone, the boy had to look after his mother. No one kept their promises, and after 3 months, no one was going to help. The baby ran to his aunt, shouting that the girl would not live a day without medicine. The woman handed over the money, but said that this was the last time. If Lucas came at least one more time, he would be in serious trouble. Anger accumulated, but the hero understood that something else was more important. Now, picking up the bag, he was going to quickly run to the hospital because the sun was already setting. The boy begged and begged to sell the medicine, but the man only said that there was too little money, and then slammed the door right in the young man's face. No one wanted to help this family, but it was impossible to give up so that nothing terrible would happen. Lucas came running home within half an hour. The woman puts her hand on her son's cheek and quietly pronounces his name. Trying to move, a second later, a cough is heard, and blood comes from his mouth. The girl called her son for the last time, and then her hand fell limply on the bed, making it clear that everything was over. It was no longer possible to hold back the tears. The child was incredibly scared, and he begged his mother not to leave him. But nothing helped. It seemed that something had come that had to be avoided by all means. There were a lot of rumors around. They said that the guy didn't even have enough money for a coffin, so he wrapped the body in a rag and buried it. He is an aristocrat, but the grave is in a common place. The hero sat for days on end near the bed of his mother, whom he still had not changed, and all this continued until someone knocked on the door. The father returned from the war and hugged his son. His look was exhausted, and as if life had ended for him too. No longer holding emotions within himself, the hero begins to sob. The man was missing his left arm, and the baby noticed it too late, which frightened him even more than before. It was incomprehensible and frightening. It was then that everything was decided, and Lucas promised himself that he would definitely survive in this world, which despite all the complexity should be better. Duke Howitt became a reliable support for the baby. From the very beginning, the boy's father sacrificed his hand to save the man during the war, so he promises to do his best and keep an eye on him. It was possible to try to fix something, but now the young man does not trust people because he believes that they are two-faced. Now, no one was able to see the real young man, but only to one family was he able to swear allegiance and open his heart. The door opens, and Aaron is there with a bottle of wine. which he got somewhere he thought that, since the light was on, it meant that his acquaintance was still awake, and they could talk. Conversations as usual flow along their course, but then the expression on his face changes. The man cannot stop thinking about Selena. The girl seems carefree because she talks as usual and eats with everyone. And for some reason, the feeling that she can just up and disappear doesn't go away. Lucas is asked if the lady seems stable, but he remains silent because he remembers that very moment in the carriage that put everything in its place. Aaron just wants his little sister to stand with her head held high and not be afraid of the world. In fact, his friend has a lot to tell, but first he asks about a priest named Ian. It is impossible to believe that there is a person with such power that will help heal the wound in Selena's heart. They can all go there together in order to fix everything. The temple probably wouldn't hide such a priest, but then even more questions arise. Going out onto the balcony, the young man notices Aiden standing to the side. It seems that today the people from the mansion were attacked by insomnia. Bowing his head, the guy is about to quickly leave, but he is stopped to buy time to go down. Soon the blonde will leave with the Duke Jr. for several days on an important trip, so he gives a task to the servant. He will be obliged to make sure that nothing happens to the lady. All this sounds like a warning, and lately, Lucas has been getting to know the hero more and more from a different side that he has never seen before. For some reason, now Aiden doesn't want to bow his head and apologize, because the interlocutor was the first to start an argument in order to leave. You can argue that it's late. This time, the knight says seriously that if the lady tries to go somewhere, the boy is obliged to stop her, and even better not to let her go anywhere, because no one knows how it will end. They are not going to let the hero go until it is clear what needs to be done in the guard's absence, and in the end, they agree on something. The older brother says goodbye to Selena before they go on a trip. The girl must be careful and monitor her health. Most likely the couple will see each other for the last time. The boy loved his sister to the last, so it will be difficult to say goodbye to her just like that. The heroine openly wishes a good journey and asks to take care of himself. From now on, the young man should not live as a minor character, because he can be real. Lucas climbs forward, grabbing the lady's palm, and also asking him to look after himself. She nods, asking her friend to look after White in return. A lot has happened during this time, and the lady must have caused him a lot of trouble, but she hopes that one day he will be able to forgive. The Duke, thinking that the couple has been holding hands for too long, breaks their ties and pulls his friend closer to the carriage, asking why he couldn't have done it faster. Before leaving, the hero looks for the last time at the blonde who does not understand what they want from him. We are again talking about the clock tower. The guy knows that he was understood, so he won't be upset about this. The man says goodbye and bows his head, although he still doesn't know what the meaning is. In the carriage, the Duke glares at his friend with an inquisitive but more angry look. He is disappointed with the way the guy held his sister's hand near the castle. Aaron may be a brother, but even he can't hold the lady's hand. He should have realized that one day someone will hold her all the time, and maybe it will happen soon. Whoever the girl's future partner is, a steep barrier awaits him, which he will need to pass no matter what in order to be close. Before Selena lost her memory, she really liked Lucas, but he was not at all interested in her. The way she changed could affect the attractiveness. The guy is a dear person, but this does not mean that the Duke is going to give him his sister, whom he values much more. The knight inside is torn by loneliness and anger, mixed with resentment towards the whole world. White needs someone calmer, who can make the lady smile constantly. The clock tower is again an eyesore, which makes him feel uneasy, and Lucas offers to demolish it. Now we can say with confidence that he is definitely not himself. A lady sits at a table with tea and looks at all sorts of invitations to various events, which after being read aloud go into the trash. The man asks the lady to stop, and he takes up the knife with which he smoothly begins to cut each letter in order to simplify the task. Lady Jonas invited the girl to a tea party in the Rose Garden, which seems to be a great idea, since it is held only in the summer, presenting itself as exclusive. What was written sounded interesting, so very soon the heroine told Aiden that the two of them were going there. The blonde runs back into his room and puts the teapots and cups on the table. He heads to the mirror and tries to loosen his tie, blushing as he does so. Of course, the trip with Howitt doesn't mean anything, But this time, neither Lucas nor Jane, who are usually somewhere nearby, will be there. The boy ran back, asking for forgiveness for being late. It's okay because they were just setting off. It was impossible not to notice his face, like that of a contented child. The girl examines all the servants to whom she says goodbye. They did everything for her, and I would like to thank her in this place. Everything seemed alien, but things have changed. The Duke's family showed what it's like to be loved, and what it's like to love someone more than yourself. This place will remain only in memories. It seems that the lady was a little disturbed, even if it was not intentional. The hero tried to shield the girl from the sun, which was shining directly in her face. The lady grabs the guy by the hand and pulls him closer to her seat. From this side, it will be much more convenient to shield himself from the sun with the help of the body shadow. The best solution would be to sleep. While the carriage heads forward, somewhere into the unknown, the heroine will quietly sacrifice herself and will not suffer anymore. The guy is looking at the menu with cakes that he has never even seen in his life. Each of them, unfortunately, is too expensive, so there is nothing to do with his salary. The heroine is about to leave, but notices the same look from the blonde. If she disappears right now, he will sit and wait without eating a single piece of what he wants so badly. All that remains is to sit back and ask not to pay attention. The guy smiles with all his teeth, talking about how delicious everything is here. The young man has never tried anything like this, so he even wants to ask what ingredients they use. This is definitely a great last dinner together, although maybe the desserts are too sweet. Aiden is worried about the lady's condition. He also had to tell them not to bring chocolate cake because the lady doesn't like it. If the servant eats chocolate cake, then the girl may well also try something delicious. She is going to sit a little longer, so as not to spoil the mood. It's impossible not to notice that Aiden is having fun compared to how he behaves at the estate. The boy seems to glow with the happiness that befell him. The point is not that the hero has relaxed too much, because everything lies in something else. The maiden interrupts, asking what his friend is going to do next. It seems that the best option is to continue working on the estate, although the lady believes that it is better to find something she would like more than cleaning and serving. The boy could open a candy store or become a magician, as he had long wanted, given the potential if he was allowed to speak out. It had long been calculated how much money would be needed to leave the estate. Ultimately, it was decided to stay no matter what, because Howite wants to serve at least until she is old enough to be her own person. If the girl had not been there, the acquaintance would have long ago started doing what he loved. But for now, this will not happen. It's time to go to the pink velvet salon. The lady has not seen Selena since the engagement ceremony, and is now incredibly happy they will be together at the tea party. But for now, they will choose each other dresses suitable for the evening. It turned out that the evening was being hosted by Vivian, which already makes it clear that there is at least some sense in this. The owner of the salon believes that she does not deserve the praise of her friends, but her outfits are truly wonderful. One garment after another begins to flash before your eyes, and this makes you want to scream because it is extremely easy to get confused each time they clarify whether the lady liked one of them or not. Howite points to a rack with some other dresses that he liked. These are casual clothes and are not suitable for a tea party. A neat white outfit catches your eye immediately and seems to symbolize death in its simplicity. Both the clothes and the interior in the salon are simply delightful. If the brunette works with local aristocrats, then the salon will probably also flourish. They settled in a small building, so the arrangement of the rooms is a little strange. There was an emergency exit in the house in case of fire or something else. It is located in the locker room where you can exit without problems since the safety of clients is paramount. The conversation is interrupted by screams at the door where the maid is trying to stop Madame Rachapelle, does not want to come to terms, because according to her, the dresses are needed right now. Mia is already swinging at one of the girls who was trying to send the lady out, but then she is stopped by Howite, who comes out ahead of everyone. All this time, Selena was the one who occupied the space in this room. Jonas carefully leans out from behind and does not understand why the maiden tried to use such methods. Perhaps the red-haired one does not have to wait her turn, whereas they can always choose something together. It's even good that the girl came in on time. The heroine's father eats measuredly and then puts his fork aside. His daughter wants to say something, but she is interrupted so that she does not get in the way at the most inopportune moment. Mia was given only one task, and that was that she was obliged to stay close to her daughter White, no matter how much money was needed, and no matter what tricks she could resort to. As a result, it somehow turned out that now not only the servants, but even the aristocrats hate their entire family after that ill-fated evening where the lady could not control herself. The count is harsh, so he will write the girl out of the inheritance, and if she does not find another way to get closer to the lady, he will kick her out of the house in which she lives at no expense. Everything happened because of amnesia and the opportunity to return. Everything was taken away by Jonas herself, who, noticing the expression on her friend's face, smiles and asks not to clench her teeth so hard so that they don't break. The tea is already ready for the tea party to begin, but Mia has lost her temper, so this can quite wait. A smile appears on the brunette's face at what is happening. Both the maid and the knight, Vivian, chuckle quietly on the side, as if mocking the aristocrat herself. Only Aiden looks puzzled by what is happening. The girl's servant is standing on that side, and if the girlfriend notices this, she must control her tone because she has no right to shout at the Howitt people who belong only to her. It seems that the lady has a fever, so she asks to buy her an antipyretic. Mia is sitting behind her, who is still angry and does not understand what she forgot here. The blonde foresaw that not everything might go as smoothly as it should, so he brought everything in advance. He made sure that you didn't have to worry about it. If it was cold, he could also bring a blanket. Just in case, the man also prepared a first aid kit in case the girl suddenly gets hurt, and spare shoes. He even has cookies and lemonade in his carriage if unexpected hunger comes. All these preparations are very similar to the young man, but the plan must be completed to the end, so the beauty asks to buy an antipyretic with strawberry flavor. If Aiden leaves the atelier, the heroine will be left alone. But there is no point in worrying, because in the end, Lady Jonas's friends and knights will be nearby. They will look after White, and if everything is so the hero is about to leave his face, shows that it is better not to trust until the end. But no one was left with a choice. Before leaving the room, the young man looks with an inquisitive gaze, hoping that the lady will not go anywhere and leave him alone. This question is extremely stupid. The guy is too worried, and this becomes noticeable to everyone gathered. The lady nods, promising that everything will be fine, while holding back her cold gaze. The carriage has finally arrived at the temple. A priest runs out of it, who greets the Duke and expresses his joy at the visit. If only it had been known that Howitt would arrive, the clergy would have greeted them differently. This time it is an unofficial visit, so there is no need to worry. In the room along the way, you can honor the goddess Ariana, but it is impossible to let someone of such high rank into such a room, so the young man suggests going a little further. They were in a room for commoners, but for aristocrats, there is a separate estate where they can pray in peace. It turned out that the Duke was looking for someone. A priest from this temple helped his sister a few days ago, and now it would be best to meet him in person. We are talking about Jan. Lucas would also like to personally thank the young man for the help he provided in that park. This is a great opportunity for the temple, but it is strange that all this should have been done by the very same person the priest managed to get money from White. The man persistently knocked on the door, but having lost all patience, he broke in shouting that the boy should come out quickly. The aristocrats should not be kept waiting. The hero was praying, so he didn't have the opportunity to say something. He decided to pretend to be serious, which irritates the most important person. Two respected aristocrats want to see Ian. They want to see him, so before going out into the world, the young man is obliged to put on good clothes. After just 10 minutes, the two found themselves in the same hall. The brunette asks for forgiveness for the wait that they had to go through. The boy is not able to try to step over himself, so he is surprised at what he sees in front of him is the same knight who was in that garden. Lucas noticed the pressure that is being put on the patriarch, so he immediately says that they need to talk in private. He understands that this is the best and surest way. The priest is still too inexperienced, so it would be better for everyone to stay together. However, the blonde does not want to repeat himself twice. He lowers his tone of voice. A little frightened, the brunette nods, actively, promising that they can talk as much as their heart desires, and he will return as soon as the name is heard. Ian has no right to try to behave inappropriately, because this will carry with it a lot of consequences. The hero must try not to tarnish the name of the church. The guy is clearly not liked here, but it is not yet clear why he also has abilities. But they seem to have been ignored. There are still doubts about what is happening, because perhaps this is not the best idea. I remember the words of the Duke, who said that Selina needs the help of this young man. The priest must be invited to the estate, and it's not just about the talented people must be recruited by the Hoyt family before other aristocrats are able to notice them. Aaron shakes hands, saying thanks for helping his little sister. The girl struck Ian to the core, so he did what he had to do. As it turned out, Selina first saved the child, and then when she was attacked by thugs, she was not even afraid of this, understanding the importance. Aiden has already reached the nearest pharmacy. Unfortunately, they don't seem to have any strawberry-flavored medicine, but perhaps they have it somewhere else. This simply does not exist, which already makes it clear that the man is serving a very picky aristocrat. They are always asking for something impossible. Finding himself on the street, the hero thinks even more about what is happening. For some reason, he is not able to listen to himself, and therefore the anxious feeling does not go away. The boy runs with all his might, back, realizing that something is pulling him back. We cannot allow something terrible to happen after what the mistress tried to do earlier. Vivian shows her different dresses to her friend, saying that each one seemed to be tailored specifically for her. Mia laughs, noticing that she is just sucking up, but she defends herself. While the duo is choosing the best option, the lady expresses her desire to try on something else. Madame understands her perfectly, knowing that she can definitely offer her. The lady promises that she can handle it alone and leaves the lady with those who still continue to shout at each other. It seems that it just won't end like that. The Virgin takes off her dress and then puts on the same snow-white one that she liked in the hall a very long time ago. It looks like a cloud. The lady quietly opens the door, which was supposed to serve as an emergency exit, and gradually goes outside. This is where the story should end. Ian listens to the proposal calmly, before saying anything. He can't be the personal priest of the Hewitt family, because there is some kind of problem with that. The idea that the boy is still insufficiently experienced remains in his head. Therefore, accordingly, he cannot do anything other than silently pray. He does not want to disgrace the name of the Duke. The Holy Father's ability is simply terrible, so he should not try to use it so as not to harm people. He does not want God to see sins. There are many doctors in the country who are more talented and know what they are doing, but it is strange that the couple came to Ian, who will not do anything. The priest was treated so horribly that now he cannot believe that he is actually a good person. Only this person is able to help Aaron's sister. Selina is very sick, and no doctor can heal what is consuming the lady more and more every day. The brunette gets scared and asks what it is. Hoyt doesn't know when the girl will break, but she is clearly like fragile glass that is about to crack. If something happens, she will never earn forgiveness. 4 knights were ordered to accompany the lady, and the Duke himself asked for this, but the lady somehow slipped past and fled in an unknown direction. The butler saw how the girl went for a walk with Aiden, and therefore thought that everything would be fine, and that she was feeling great. The knights must gather right now to find Selina as quickly as possible. The door opens, and the man's wife appears there, standing with a kettle. She understands literally everything from the face of her husband, who quickly runs out of the office, promising that he will return the girl. The servant had already managed to run back to the studio. He managed to cover the distance twice as fast as usual, and therefore there was absolutely no air left in his lungs. Madame found herself embroiled in a fight between the girls who are quite tired of her, and she points to the fitting room where the lady went half an hour ago. Looking at the wall clock, the lady realizes that the lady was a little late there. It's strange that she still hasn't finished with that one dress that she picked out for herself. Aiden is not going to follow any rules of etiquette, and therefore rushes into the fitting room faster than anyone else. There was no one there, only emptiness. Sir Lucas repeatedly warned the young man to keep an eye on Selina, who was still as unstable as usual, but nothing came of it. He let everyone down. The atmosphere in the room has somehow become heavier, but there is no time to waste. The servant remembers the clock tower, so pushing away the madam, he hurries to the exit to head there. Before jumping out through the emergency exit, the guy asks the brunette for a favor. She must send someone to the estate and warn about the tower into which the young mistress could be heading. The girls sitting in the hall are strictly forbidden to say anything in order to prevent rumors from spreading. Aiden hopes that he can rely. Tears are already flowing uncontrollably down her face due to the awareness of the situation. This is exactly what the heroine wanted when she sent the guy away to go to the place of her death. Regardless of where he is running, the guy crashes into a cart with apples, which he overturns and falls. There is a sharp pain in his knee, but this does not matter, because the main thing is that the lady waits. This time, everything is the same. The girl in her last moments again thinks about her sister, who often asked to read that same novel. When the child is refused, she begins to cry, saying that she was looking forward to coming. And in the end, for some reason, she is told no. She is already tired of hanging around these white walls. The girl carefully hugs the little girl, who is screaming that everything is unfair and everything is against her. Now she will do anything so as not to upset her. The beauty was constantly angry, but now this is no longer so important because the end has come immediately. She will no longer have to go back to the past and experience the same things. It was impossible to hate my sister because she needed someone nearby. If they met, there would be a lot to tell and hope that everything would be good there. The Duke went with the knights on a search, leaving his wife standing on the threshold. Lucas anxiously looks at that same tower, squinting a little. The girl slowly climbs up. She is already tired, but there are many more steps left than she managed to climb. This idea was not the best from the very beginning. You can't stop until no one has arrived, because otherwise all your plans will be ruined. The clock starts striking sharply, notifying you of the time, which makes you have to cover your ears with your hands. The desire to die moves forward, and this will be the end. At least this time, the girl is not going to give up so easily before getting hers. Aiden has absolutely no strength left, but he tries to go to the very end because he understands what awaits him in the end. He falls on the stairs. The hero must hurry, and after just a few minutes, he manages to climb to the very top. The lady stands at the very edge, like an angel in a white dress. The Virgin took off her shoes and looks somewhere in the sky. Hearing Aiden's voice, she insistently recommends that he not come a centimeter closer, so as not to spoil anything, understanding what exactly follows after this. Lowering her feet, the lady wonders why the young man still came after he was told to leave. This time he should have listened too. Their paths must finally diverge, because the lady knows what the hero had to go through. Because of her bad behavior, time will not heal the wounds that have opened. There is no point in asking to forget about everything and make sure that nothing else happens. Because it is impossible to forget, there will always be something inside that cannot be removed. No matter how difficult it will be, the guy simply must hide his heart deeper. He will turn around and take this necessary step towards a better life. The boy will walk forward with his head raised so that nothing happens. She is sure that she has never lived her life, but she has the right to say this to others. Despair is getting closer and closer, leaving not a single chance to do anything. They will not be able to walk together because the mistress has already decided everything a long time ago and knows what needs to be done. Aiden hurries to the edge, but the girl leans back and slowly flies to the ground. It seems that she can no longer be saved or caught, even if time slows down. Jane is cleaning the lady's room carefully, wiping away the dust that had accumulated before the lady returned, making sure everything shines. Aiden jumps out after the lady, who is also looking at the clear sky. All the mana that has accumulated over 2 months will be used right now. The heroine should never die like this, without giving herself a single chance. The magic that comes from the guy's palms gathers in the sky. Light gently lifts the girl under him, and then the blonde moves closer, hugging the lady with all his might, who seems to feel nothing. They fell to the ground together. Pain spreads through the body of the young man, who tries to get up and crawl closer to the girl, who rolled somewhere to the side. There is blood coming from the lady's head, which spreads around in a puddle. Even all the hero's mana was not enough to do at least something regarding salvation, and he hoped for something. In the distance, the tramp of horses and the voices of knights are heard. The Duke heads closer to those who are in the shadow of the foliage. It seems they are too late. The man grabs his daughter, smearing blood all over his hands, which he doesn't care about. He hugs the girl further, trying not to cry, but the tears flow on their own. After a second, it is possible to understand that the heroine is still breathing, even if very faintly, and now a carrier pigeon must be sent to Aaron, who is in the temple. Aiden shrinks in pain and coughs, but promises that he will go to the temple and bring a priest who can heal the girl. There is not much time left. The hero concentrates with all his might talking about the place where the gentleman himself is now. Magic searches for the man, and finally, he manages to feel his voice. The door to the room opens, and on the threshold, the young man falls to his knees. Those gathered are frightened and ask why the servant came in such a state. The hero barely speaks, but Lucas manages to hear something about the lady and help. If nothing is done, the girl may simply die. Maids are running around the estate collecting everything they need. One brought more water, and the other brought towels with which to clean the body. The doctors are trying their best to do something, and the first thing would be to stop the bleeding, but nothing works. At this rate, the lady may not survive the night. The Duchess almost loses consciousness, but she gets ready in time. She doesn't want to sit on the chair because her daughter is now on the verge of death, and it's hard not to talk about it. It all happened on the ill-fated clock tower, which made the others worry there was no way out, because in this case, everything was bad enough. The lady is still alive, but she hit her head hard, so the next few hours will be decisive for her. She needs to immediately contact the Holy Father. Father Yang is the one who can save the girl, and therefore they must go to that place right now, so as not to miss anything and not make the situation worse. The brunette is clearly worried. He is not sure that he will be able to heal such a serious wound, which is almost life-threatening, and therefore he will stop relying on his own strength. Aiden begins to cry even more and bows his head to fall to his knees. It cannot be said that everything is so simple, but he worries about Selena more than anyone. The girl deserves at least one more chance at life, which this time can make her fully happy no matter what. Seeing how much the hero is worried, the brunette plucks up courage and asks to take him to the girl to try to fix something. He doesn't know what he can do, but for this, he should put in all his strength. The carriage is already outside, so all that remains is to go forward. But for now, this is not the best option. The servant grabs the priest's hand. A second later, the duo disappears, and only a lot of light from magic remains in the room. The Duke does not understand since when Aiden has been using his hidden powers. They also need to leave to make it on time. Aaron falls to his knees, but he should gather his strength. He will not achieve anything with such behavior. Even when Selena took her older brother by the hand before their departure, she had already decided everything, but the young man did not notice anything. He reproaches himself for his carelessness. Lucas expresses his feelings in his own way. He remembers how the lady then said goodbye, as if they were seeing each other for the last time, and immediately after they left the estate, she ran to the tower. As soon as she freed herself from the inquisitive gaze of the others, the girl rushed towards the death she so badly desired. There is pitch darkness around the brunette, which does not want to part to the sides. Perhaps she is simply on the way to hell where she belongs. Finally, I managed to meet Selena in person. Now there is no need to worry because the endless circle is over, just like life and misfortune. Death alone was finally avoided. We managed to escape from our fate. Despite everything, now our loved ones will at least mourn the beauty. Selena finally has the right to find peace. But only after a while did it become clear to the lady that in front of her was not another person, but her own reflection. In the distance, a familiar voice is heard, calling her sister, a girl with long hair. Notices that this kind of hairstyle suits her incredibly well, which seems to give off her individuality. The baby specially grew her hair, and besides all this, she felt much better. I can't believe that they are not going to scold her for the mistake that happened. The magic condenses in the middle of the room, and Aiden appears there, holding hands with Ian. They really hope that they are not late and can still do something. The servant falls to his knees from the helplessness that overtook him. He replies that he is completely fine, but nothing has changed. Yet you only need to think about Selena. The Holy Father runs up to the bed, even a little frightened by the amount of blood that is around. He does not know whether he will be able to save the girl. Whatever the outcome, the couple is grateful to the young man for taking the time and coming to help. Now everyone is hoping for him and is going to help. The hero is no longer going to hesitate, so he puts his hands to his forehead and begins to read some kind of prayer. The forces gather near the head, forming a circle. Megumi hugs her sister and smiles. She decides to ask how the lady ended up in this space. The girl was able to fly because obviously she wanted to see the beauty. So much the little girl asks to sit next to her to show her something interesting. For some reason, the couple ended up in the cinema. Megumi notes that this is her first time in such an interesting place, because when she was sick, she could not go anywhere except the ward. The screen shows in vivid pictures Selena's life, and how she had to step over herself doing too much. She doesn't want her sister to see this, so she covers her eyes with her hand. It would be better not to watch this, but the little girl, it turns out, had already seen everything. When she died, moments from her life flashed before her eyes. It's immediately clear how much the beauty has had to endure. But she asks another most important question. When Selena was 9, obviously she really wanted to kill her sister. At this time, the priest is trying his best. The Duchess no longer finds the strength to stand on her feet. Therefore, kneeling down, she begs God for her daughter to return. A child at 9 just wanted her mother to praise her and try to enjoy any successes, but in return, the woman was constantly dissatisfied with something. When the girl looked at her daughter, the look was very different. This was not the first time the brunette noticed such small changes. Before the child was born, life seemed to be like a beautiful jar of sweets, each of which I wanted to try. But now everything has changed. The heroine often complained on the phone that Megumi needed to go to the hospital again and have another operation. No one understood what to do, given that there had been little work lately. The baby reaches out her hands to the girl who is resting peacefully in the crib. If her heart stops now, perhaps the mother will love her other daughter again. Her hands were already reaching for her neck, but then the girl was thrown aside by her mother, who could not believe what she had just seen. On that day, the heroine was thrown out the door for the first time and beaten for something that was not destined to happen. It became clear that there would never be happiness again. The girl squeezes her sister's hand tighter, who looks with an inquisitive gaze. She promises that she would never do that. The little girl doesn't deserve to suffer constantly. Then the little girl's collar was just bent, and she wanted to fix it to make it look more beautiful. The beauty hugs the girl and smiles. She reveals her deepest secret. Because in fact, the one who called her into the world was Megumi herself. As everyone knows, people can be given multiple lives over a long period of time. The heroine also always had one life that she did not know about. The brunette gasps in surprise. She couldn't even imagine that this was possible, and that Selena is also another waking life as a young duchess has become a new discovery. It's impossible to believe, but the love that the lady received from all those people really belonged only to her. They were never strangers. The girl did not know how everything would turn out. From the moment of her birth in that life, the baby spent all her time in a hospital room from which there seemed to be no way out. Megumi always relied on her little sister, and at the same time envied her health. When she was having a hard time, she had to restrain herself so as not to throw tantrums. Despite everything, the girl really loved Selena. She was always selfish, and her friend was always there, as if it were a matter of course. I wanted to believe in the best, but in reality, both Dad and Mom and the heroine herself brought the beauty to death, ruining her life to the very end. The child prayed to God and begged him to give at least one more chance to his unfortunate sister, who deserved better. In the new world, there should have been only love. Now, the lady began to understand why she was allowed to live this life again, as Selena, and why everyone there loved and valued the maiden. The sister is no longer obliged to live for the sake of someone else, and there is no need to get tired for the sake of someone either. She is obliged to make herself happy because it is only in her hands. The heroine tried to die because she blindly believed that Selena's soul was dreaming about this. But in fact, the meaning was different. The previous family made mistakes and led to this place. The servant turns to Aiden, who is sitting leaning against the wall. He is also wounded, so it would not hurt to rest. The young man turns away, looking at the bed with his mistress. Ian still tries to the last and is not going to give up, but it seems that his strength is running out. His body flies to the side and falls on the cold floor. The gentleman is ordered to be taken to another room and to call even more people to help the doctor. Notices that the blood on his head has finally stopped. The wounds on the body also disappeared, which means the critical moment may already be behind us. It will be known for sure only when the lady wakes up. The mother sits down next to her daughter and gently strokes her hair. At that very moment, Lucas bursts into the room with Aaron. The girl looks more or less normal, apparently, thanks to the efforts of the Holy Father. The lady survived the most difficult thing, but we just have to wait a little. Desperately turning away, the heroine remembers everything that she has done. She no longer has the last chance, which she used on her own, thereby destroying everything. Selena's body is still alive, so nothing bad will happen. But you can see that the matter is completely different. There is another problem that is hidden. My sister is scared, and she thinks that they will be disappointed in her. She jumped off herself and caused her family a lot of mental pain. Now they are going to meet again as if nothing happened. After this, the White family may simply turn away from the girl who has repeatedly made mistakes that will now not help her correct herself. If Selena's parents and loved ones end up hating her, she'll wish she had died now. They're probably already fed up with her antics. The commoners also noticed that something had happened at the Duke's estate. It was such an hour, but lanterns were lit everywhere, as if it were a clear day. The maid asks the chef to rest for now, while they take care of everything else she refuses, because new instructions are never known. Servants are roaming around everywhere, who had no intention of going to rest. At this hour, they were ordered to keep the door closed, because the mistress needs rest. Everyone except those on duty must leave. The butler and Jane were the ones who agreed to take care of everything another maid asked to be nearby, as worries forced her to stand on her feet. Still, it's time for everyone to have a good rest and then do other things later they can change. The maid has never respected the young mistress, but no matter what, she is more diligent now. This can apply to everyone present. It's hard to believe that just a few months can change a person so dramatically. The Duchess is no longer recognizable, and she behaves much better. It was a great surprise for the man to see a girl who behaved completely differently. Now different, she even began to take care of ordinary servants. The lady often refused help, not understanding why everyone was so eager to get wet. If anyone wanted to go with her, she was obliged to take an umbrella. Although cold on the outside, the heroine was still worried that those who serve her might get caught in the rain and get sick. Something changed in her. People seem too stupid, even though they have been forgiven 1,000,000 times, but they still do something to earn trust again. Selena simply must wake up, and preferably as quickly as possible. The lady needs to be kind to her employees at least 9 more times. Jane can no longer hold back her tears. Megumi allows her little sister to hear the voices that are constantly calling her. She cannot believe that all this is reality. The girl cannot understand why everyone behaves this way, because there seems to be no real reason for this. Aiden's desperate voice is heard most clearly. There is too much time that the young man wants to say, and therefore if the maiden does not return, he does not even know how he is going to live. It is clear from Selena that she is determined to return back, and in the end is not going to retreat so easily. It was the train behind that came to the call. It seems that the time has come for the heroine to leave. The gift that her sister gave her is just the first, but obviously not the last. She will have to enjoy her life. Still, the beauty always listens to the requests of other people. She knows that it will not be very soon, but they will definitely meet again, no matter what. The girl goes inside, and the train starts moving. Megumi runs, because obviously she needs to say something else, but almost nothing is heard. The girl desperately asks for forgiveness for living, without noticing the suffering of others. Tears flow from her eyes after the meeting that happened, and after all the realization, Selena jumps up in bed, opening her eyes. It seems stupid, but in the end, it was her sister who cared for Megumi, more than anyone else, giving every last drop of herself. The price for providing such an opportunity is that you will no longer get out to the other side. Everything will be fine, despite all the problems. Aaron, who was sitting nearby, finally noticed that his sister had woken up, the last tear rolling down her cheek. The heroine looks carefully at everyone who has gathered around her for several seconds and understands where this is all leading. The mother hugs her daughter. The lady's hands are shaking a little from what is happening, and she tries to remain calm, gently patting the Duchess on the shoulder while she promises that everything will be fine. Aiden, who just a second ago had been standing somewhere nearby and looking at the picture, but Lucas didn't even have time to turn around to notice how he slipped through the door. His legs give way, so he can't go too far. The guy slides down the wall, not noticing how a familiar figure approaches him. Raising his head, the hero asks Sir Lucas for forgiveness. He, despite the warnings, did something wrong just a little more, and disaster would have happened. The hero allows the acquaintance to rise and thanks him for the fact that the lady is alive thanks to him. If she had died, he probably would not even be alive either. The knight, as usual, conducted morning training, which was finally completed. Equipment was given to everyone present. Everyone is busy with their own affairs, so no one has free time. Only Selina calmly stands near the window and looks at the sky. Jane runs into the ladies' room, looking at the sun today. The weather is great, and if the lady doesn't mind, they could go somewhere for a walk. Although the doctor said that everything is fine, this does not change the situation. Several days have passed since she woke up, and I wonder why the heroine is constantly silent. Everyone is waiting for the Duchess to be full of energy and life again. After sunset, it gets a little colder, so the maid taking care brought a warm blanket. The woman carefully puts her hand on the girl's palm. She immediately perks up, trying to find out what exactly she needs and wants to say. The heroine wants to say something to her mom, Dad, and Brother Jane should not listen again, because everything is clear. Even so, she is in a hurry to call the whole family. The blue-eyed woman perhaps stops the beauty for the last time. It seems that when she was unconscious, she heard the brunette's voice. Every time she came to the ward, the girl called the lady, and for this we can only thank her, because it was incredibly important, or the maid was actually just afraid to think about what would happen if suddenly the lady never woke up again. The Duchess apologizes for making her worry. The girl gets up from her seat and moves away from the chair. It's time to put an end to what was started in the first place. The brother bursts into the room, rejoicing that the girl has finally regained her memory. She smiles slightly, thanking her for coming to her at the first call. Father and mother were already in the room. Each invited the girl to sit down, but she refused almost immediately. The whole family is here, so it's time for Selina to sit down. 2. She freezes, and trying not to cry, exhales slowly, and then falls to her knees. To be honest, the Virgin is still afraid of something, and still does not know what a full life is, which she is trying not to run away from. The lady caused trouble for her family, and constantly distanced herself. She constantly caused pain, but now she still asks for forgiveness. All this is even more terrible when the lady stood on the edge of the building and hoped for a favorable ending. Wishing for something is such a terrible thing that it causes pain in the chest. The Duchess sits down next to her and agrees that her daughter has indeed always been a difficult child. This does not mean that they hold a grudge against her. What happened in the past definitely no longer matters, and the lady forgives the baby because she is just the one who made a mistake. No matter how many actions the beauty does, her mother will still love her no matter what. It's not so often that you meet people who, while living their lives, realize how to make it better. If a lady ever doubts herself, she must remember that no matter how many people stand against her, and no matter how many doubts, in order to protect the child, a woman will go to the very end. Only now the blue-eyed girl begins to understand that no matter the ending, the lady would never have died completely alone, as she thought then. The family loved the girl until the very end, and she did not notice this because of her bad behavior, which turned a blind eye to everything around her. The heroine can no longer hold back. She sobs, asking for forgiveness for everything she has done. She tearfully promises that this will never happen again. This family is exactly the one that should have initially become the first and real one. Everything that matters in this world gradually becomes more important than the rest. The next morning was one of the worst in recent times. The girl cried too much, so she woke up in a terrible state. Her eyes as well as her face were quite swollen. Previously, the beauty did not even think that she would stay in such a place. Even now, it is difficult for her to believe that this is really a real room, and people who belong to her. I managed to return, and now it's not even a dream, and not something that will simply evaporate. Now the lady knows that these people will never leave her, no matter what may happen. The girl was lucky to know what it's like when you are loved and cared for. From that day on, you can live a full life like the real Selina. The beauty no longer intends to doubt herself, and there is nothing more to be afraid of. She will move forward with her head held high. Aaron and Lucas walk along the balcony and stop when they notice Selina. His brother smiles and waves, while his friend quickly turns away. The man is still offended, but it is impossible to blame him given the circumstances. He sincerely cared about the girl, and she jumped from the tower as soon as he briefly left the mansion. If during the next meeting the young man is still angry, the heroine is going to apologize as expected because she does not wish him harm in any form. Aaron promises that his friend will not get away with this because he sees how he looks angrily at his sister. Waving him off, the blonde orders him to take his hands off his precious face. The beauty looks at the arranged plates of desserts, which as usual seems simply wonderful to her, strange, but perhaps she doesn't like this anymore. The heroine only thinks about Aiden. A good few days have passed since she woke up, but he still hasn't dared to come in to check on her. Asking Jane where the servant is now, the girl receives a strange answer, which makes her begin to worry. She hopes that nothing happened to him. The lady should have taken the boy's side as soon as she woke up, but instead she had to do everything else except save her friend. The hero is tormented by nightmares. He sees the very tower to which he ran, rubbing his feet into blood, and where he was asked for forgiveness for everything he had done in the past. Another dream with a terrible but identical ending made the boy jump up in bed and restlessly look around. The blonde didn't even suspect that he was being used, so he acted like an idiot. Now what is happening will be a good lesson for him. The mistress took the guy only to then send him away, and at any opportunity to kill himself, her death would be pinned on him. If you think like this, then the young man in full view may consider himself pitiful, because in this case, nothing will help the acquaintance conveys what the Duke sees the servant. The man shouldn't worry so much, because it was only thanks to him that the mistress was saved, and his lordship is unlikely to reprimand him for saving her. The interlocutor asks what is going on with Aiden's magic. He recalls how rumors spread about the power he possessed, and they were picked up by almost everyone who was there. It's not even the blonde's fault, because he himself didn't really understand what happened. One might say that he had to act instinctively because of the emergency situation. The boy is still sure that the Duke is angry with him because such powerful magic is under the strict control of the Empire and exists only in the magic tower. The fact that the man was a servant of the family with abilities was revealed, and there is no hope for the best. He hopes that he will only be removed from his position for a short time. Entering the office, the hero is silent. In fact, he does not regret anything, because if he had to talk about the truth, he would never change his decision, even if he returned back to the world. The Duke is worried that the boy has not yet fully recovered, and therefore called him for a conversation. The help provided was enough. The day before, Ian did not believe that his friend was completely fine, because even he had difficulty regaining his strength. His body needed a good rest for several days. The brunette also decided to help, so he again uses divine power, asking the guy to turn his back. He tried hard to save the lady's life. Now Aiden can move his shoulders again, which is impossible not to be happy about. He will definitely be rewarded by the goddess Ariana. The Holy Father behaves exactly like a child, because even after numerous requests to be restored, he continues to help others first. Now the priest is resting because he overdid it too much. The only thing that interests the young man is why the Duchess sent him to help. While the conversation dragged on, the guest was forced to wait too long. The same Sir Alogan, who had previously visited the estate, was in the room all this time. The old man smiles radiantly, because they haven't seen each other for quite a long time. He is happy to see that same uncut diamond in front of him. Jane has no idea what the conversation was about behind the closed door, but since that day, the young man has not left the room or done anything. No one complains because Madame granted him an indefinite leave. They say that Madame's fall could not but leave its mark on his fragile psyche. The girl was thinking about something without answering the story, but then asked the maid to wrap 2 pieces of cake with her. It was clear where she was going to go. The heroine gives 1 cake to Jane, who has had to go through too much. She has one more request about what she will have to fulfill. The girl wants to know where Aiden's room is, and she wants the conversation to take place just between the two of them. Evening has already come, so the blonde is in bed as usual. He has no strength left, but a knock on the door forced him to open his eyes. A familiar voice is heard quietly, asking if the young man is sleeping. He freezes in surprise, because he did not expect to hear the lady who is standing right outside the doors. The Virgin asks if they can talk, but in response she receives silence. She sits down on the floor, sighing. The guy probably doesn't even want to see her. Everything is exactly as it should have been. If this is the will of the young man, then he can continue to pretend to be asleep and not go out. The girl repeatedly heard about what happened that day, because Aiden heroically jumped after the mistress. She does not remember what happened after, but is still grateful. As far as the lady knows, the guy got hurt a lot that day, which makes it even more sad. When the heroine woke up, he had to say something. All that remains is to wonder what the hero will do since tomorrow is his day off again. The door behind him suddenly opens, forcing the girl to freeze. In the distance, the footsteps of other servants are heard, who are discussing where they can go for a walk. The guy grabs White and makes sure that they are not noticed. When everyone left, the realization finally dawned that all this time he was holding Selena by the shoulders without her permission. His face turns red almost instantly. Blue Eyes goes inside and sits on the bed, looking around. She never could have imagined that Aiden's room would be like this. The inside is a bit empty, but at the same time clean. Everything around resembles the owner himself. The lady asks the guy to come a little closer to her. When talking, I would like to see the face of the interlocutor, so the girl asks to sit on the chair opposite. He lowers his head, although he agrees. The girl asks for forgiveness, and after the very first few words, tears begin to flow from the servant's eyes. She knows that she was wrong, so now she is ready to reassure the one who has been trying to please all this time. The heroine actually no longer thinks about bad things and is not going to put her life in danger. She promises that she will never do that again. The blonde nods and asks to let go of his hand, because in fact there is no longer a need for this. The girl realizes that she has made a mistake and sharply withdraws her palms. The girl smiles when she notices the blush on the hero's face. Now there is no longer any doubt that she spoke sincerely. For the first time, you can see the lady laughing so carefree, as if nothing bad was happening. She finally has a feeling of security, and this is due to the fact that she is back where she belongs. The guy asks to promise that such horror will not happen again. When he saw the body on the ground, his feelings took over, and because of the memories, tears begin to accumulate again. The lady remembers something and therefore takes out a beautiful box with a cake from her pocket. The hero, as you know, loves sweets, so this won't hurt. The guy doesn't have a fork in this room, so he promises that he'll quickly run to the kitchen. This doesn't suit the girl, so she pulls him closer by the hand. You don't have to bother yourself and run in the other direction, because in the end, you can eat it just like that, even without utensils. A bright smile formed on his face. The cake looks so perfect that the girl began to think about trying it too. She carefully watches her friend. The hero says that he is unable to eat everything. But in this case, the lady suggests giving her another piece. It doesn't matter to her at all that the cake has already been bitten a little. It turned out that the food brought was too sweet but pleasant. The beauty tries to collect the crumbs from her lips, which makes the young man laugh. The mistress is sometimes too unpredictable, but in order not to get even more dirty, the guy hands over a clean handkerchief with which he wipes Selena's face. They could divide what was left in their hands into half, but according to the blonde, it would be dishonest, because the heroine had already eaten half. Thus, another step was taken towards a happy life, which will not be a bad start, and will not be something that you have to worry about. Upon returning, the girl met some people she already knew, and regardless of their position, each of them worked tirelessly because they knew that they needed it. Then even more different events took place. The Duchess held a charity fair, and the Duke attended an important event. Aaron inspected the territory of the duchy. The doctor and Ian harmonized well, because now they understand the patients who need emergency care. Each of them is busy with important work. The lady passes by in the yard, but noticing Lucas's gaze on her, she tries to run away as quickly as possible, because she understands that there are still omissions between them. The man almost immediately began to get angry in the same way as usual, thereby frightening his companion. The girl would obviously continue to do the same thing as usual. Everyone is so busy that it's impossible to even communicate with them, but of course, Lady Selena herself always remains free. Mom was offered help because the heroine actually has absolutely nothing to do. She also wants to do something useful. When the baby was still just a child, she was constantly dissatisfied with something, and was always trying to become someone she wanted to assert herself at the expense of others. When something went completely wrong as planned, the woman for some reason blamed everyone around her, shifting responsibility onto them and realizing that it was right. Megumi's words come to mind because usually a person truly lives only when he is useful to someone, and in this case, a lady should try to correct the past. Regardless of successes and failures, the girl was always told that she was loved and always supported. In any case, she understood that this was true. For some reason, the sincerity of the family was not heard at the time, but this is not the end. Later they can all figure out together how the maiden can help. Now the lady worries too much, but this will not help her. so she should try to find herself in other things. As soon as a woman begins to think about life, her instability immediately makes itself felt so as not to upset her mother. The baby promises that she will do everything possible. Selena hasn't called her mother that way for a very long time, so she's pleased to see that she's still that way. And when they're together, you can always address her that way. The Duke enters the room and Aaron appears behind him, who is upset that they are basking without his participation. The guy hugs his sister and mother. A real family will always be there, thanks to the woman. My soul felt much better, so White decided to go for a short walk. She had been planning to take a short break for a long time to enjoy herself, nature, and other things, but it seems that this time nothing will work out. Lucas is visible in the distance on the path, and as soon as the lady sees him, he is about to run away. Although he is angry, he calls my lady, noting that they have not seen each other for a long time. While the hero was speaking, the girl had already run away, but after a few minutes, he caught up with her, in which case it would be quite possible to keep each other company during the walk. The virgin hints at getting rid of her, because it's time to return to the room. The blonde again destroys everything, because he reminds him about the estate on the other side. The knight exhales in order to remain calm. He does not hold a grudge against Selena, even after what happened, but only asks for a little of his time. The heroine did not intend to avoid those who were nearby, but it seems to her that the young man hates her. It seems that she feels guilty. The girl lowers her head and does what should have happened a long time ago, namely asks for forgiveness. Her gaze no longer looks as empty as before. If the heroine is really sorry, she is obliged to fulfill one wish of the young man with whom she got involved, and in this case, nothing should happen. Of course, there is nothing wrong with carrying out the plan, but the lady cannot help but warn that if something strange happens, she will tell her older brother. Aiden, it seems, returned to his duties again, because one fine day he showed up on the threshold of the estate. The servants were incredibly happy with this turn of events. The guy asks for forgiveness for his long absence, although his friends do not understand what we are talking about, because naturally he needs at least some kind of rest. In just one day, the blonde became the object of everyone's attention. He risked his life for the sake of a lady, and thereby created a stir among girls who consider it romantic. Even men admire the hero's magical abilities, because it seems that no one has ever been able to see something like this before. The girl involuntarily remembers that evening together in the room. She asked if the young man was going to talk about what he wanted, while the lady was unconscious. The guy has already said that there is nothing special here. The heroine exhales, saying that in this case she is sorry, because she thought that if she asked, her friend would definitely tell everything. Then they postponed the conversation until next time, and now it's time to talk. The girl asks Jane to bring Aiden to her chambers. The girl looks carefully out the window while she waits, and Lucas is nearby, who has no plans to leave just yet. Now they can continue their conversation, although it seems that they have already forgotten about it. Sir must say exactly what he intended, so as not to spoil anything. No matter how much the lady tries to shut the servants' mouths, there are already rumors in high society that something happened to the lady, and it seems that it was an accident. The girl should know that lately the family has been refuting rumors that have been gathered together. All that remains is to calmly nod in response. There is nothing good in hiding the truth and trying to veil it all even more. A girl simply has to tell the truth. It sounds logical, but in this case, the young man should try to help. The virgin wants to take part in resolving everything that she herself has done. The Howites do everything to protect their daughter, but that's not it. All the beauty asks is that the hero become an assistant in discussing the issues that have piled up. Perhaps together they will be able to overcome everything. To begin with, the man proposes to throw the beauty into the hands of those who are interested in the well-being of the lady. They must do everything possible. Vivian is also angry at Selena for not showing up for the meeting they had planned, and also disappearing without saying a word to anyone. The lady is asked to calm down, but she is not going to obey, because her heart has long been broken by betrayal. Princess White sent a long-awaited letter. There will be a garden meeting, which seems like a good option for meeting new people. If Selena showed up there, people would think that the accident was just a ridiculous rumor, spread by other people, no matter what the situation was. It seems that the Hawite organization will also have to be taken over in order to correct previous mistakes. Of those who can be invited, only Vivian comes to mind. Lucas is asked to make a guest list, and since he is unable to refuse, all he can do is nod in agreement. The princess began the letter with the word dear and made the lady literally jump with joy, because it seems that she is cherished. The maid nods restrainedly. What Jonas wanted to hear was that she was a special friend who should grace the tea party with her presence. That day, her friend disappeared due to poor health. In the last lines, the lady asked to keep the letter a secret, so this is how it will become something intimate and common. Now is not the time to lie on the bed touched, because the first thing the brunette must do is write a response letter, which will become an important part. Mia is incredibly angry with her former friend, because she specifically made it so that Rachapelle would be the exception from the guests. If this goes on, the Duke's family may abandon the girl. If the father does not see any attempts to correct the situation, he will simply sell his daughter to some rich old man who should not be around. By all means, the heroine must prove her worth in this mission. First, she must talk to the Duke and explain herself correctly. A menacing scream is heard behind the door. The girl does not immediately understand what is happening there, because as you know, he had no planned meetings today. The old man shouts that the Duchess and her several henchmen stole what he had been growing for so long nothing will bother the Count, because they were the ones who were supposed to make sure that this did not happen. It remains to figure out the problem. While there is time, the woman could not know about the purpose of these victims, so they are obliged to return back. The daughter does not understand what is happening, and therefore tries to lean her ear against the door a little closer. The voice she hears for the first time, the man jumps up from his seat to quickly open the door. The priest, calmly as usual, walks through the garden, but behind him a cry is heard, in which the young man calls the guy. The blonde had almost caught up with his friend. The gentleman is asked about his shoulder, but oddly enough, nothing bad happened, and it is completely fine. Now his arms move without problems. If it weren't for Ian, the boy would have no idea how much he would have to suffer with these terrible wounds, but he insists there is nothing to be grateful for. In fact, the brunette is indebted to the young man, because it is he who becomes so happy when an acquaintance uses his powers. Only thanks to the servant, he manages to feel special. If you think like this, a man wonders if there were such pleasant moments in his life as now. And it doesn't take long to understand that this has not happened. Mr. Yang was sent a letter from the church, which Aiden is now holding out. The brunette's face immediately showed clear fear and something else. The kid remembers when he was only 8 years old, and he tried to heal everyone around him, as needed. He was constantly incredibly happy. The woman whose hand was healed thanks the guy, and is surprised how such a young priest can heal so well. Laughter is heard from behind, which does not bode well. The man is glad that the priest was able to help, but he gets scared when he realizes that the main one has appeared behind him. As it turns out, the gods are very suspicious of something like this, so the old woman is asked to keep it all a secret. The baby tries not to cry, but unfortunately, this is very difficult. He does not believe that they are doing this to him again using a whip. No one allowed the young man to expose himself, but in his defense, he can only say that that aunt's hand was very painful. Each time it ended approximately the same, and unfortunately, it was extremely difficult to fix it. The hero sat on the bed and sobbed. The chief priest visited Ian and said that he probably thought that he was doing the right thing. But if you think about it, every time after using the powers, the seed of arrogance grows more and more in the heart. The brunette refuses, saying that he is simply glad to help other people who need it and who cannot help themselves. The hero has no right to brag about his meager talent in the presence of God. The Holy Father forbade him to leave the room for about a month and ordered him to pray, thinking about his actions. Ian is brought back to reality by the voices that are heard in the room. He did not even notice how he fell out and delved into unpleasant memories. The hero again says that he is returning to the temple, because in fact he does not deserve to quietly chill in this place. Hawite received the guest so well that he even forgot about what happened. It was time for him to return and be where he was supposed to be. The priest should not be so hasty in his decisions, because in fact he was hired as personnel, and the temple has already received payment for this. If the young man wants to stay in this place, he is allowed to be here even for the rest of his life, because the Duke will not have any questions. There is still a little time left to think everything over. The lady asks not to make such a doomed face, because in the end there is always a choice. Selena goes for a walk in the garden with Aiden. She stops and then asks him to take just 3 steps forward. Finally, they are close, and the beauty can see the handsome face of the blonde. He even blushes a little after hearing this addressed to him. There is no need to worry so much about Ian, because in the end, he is an adult and can decide everything that needs to be done. They can continue to chat together like this. The couple heads forward along the path after the hero had to struggle to overcome himself and not take the mistress's hand when they stood together. Mia shouts at her father, asking what kind of nonsense this is. Count Poland is a pervert and a libertine, and it is he who they want to give Rachapelle as his wife. The man taps his cane menacingly for the premium meat that the lady ate. They had to pay money, and in gratitude for what the family did, the girl did not repay anything. Starting today, the baby begins preparations for the wedding, and no one will leave her a choice. When there are guests in the count's office, the child must also remain outside so as not to look stupid. As soon as the door closes, the lady falls to the floor and begins to sob. Now even her family doesn't need her, which makes her heart even heavier. No one needs her. Now only Mia herself can protect her life, even if she has to go against her family. Lucas carefully reads the sheets of information filled out. He pays attention to the blue-eyed girl, who is also thinking about something. Although there is a list of invited guests, thanks to which the girl can remember all the people listed there, it is not clear what about the partners who will arrive. The friend again promises that he will help to the best of his ability. Everyone knows that the heroine has lost her memory, so forgetting someone will not be a big problem. The maids who constantly watch the process praise the master. He is beautiful even when he is not holding a sword in his hands, but with a book. The blonde man stands on the balcony, listening to the path going into the distance. Many mistakenly believe that it would be good if the lady and the duke were dating. It seems the guy made a mistake, lived and pretended that everything was fine, as if nothing else mattered. He thought he was doing the right thing. Then the evening came, which we managed to wait for. Aiden collects a beautiful bouquet of cute pink flowers. The mistress is about to go to bed and reminds the servant that it is also late, which means it's time for him to go rest too. The hero is almost finished, because in fact he has very little left to complete. The girl is already asking about something else. It was impossible not to notice that the young man did not go to the magic tower. As promised, he had potential that still should be revealed. The Duchess's father introduced the servant to a high-ranking gentleman from the Tower of Magicians. But then even more questions arise. Aiden did not tell her anything. Alajan reminds that if you go with him, you will be able to get official confirmation of your powers. Most likely, you will need a little time to think. The old man smiles, saying that he liked this boy. Apparently, the servant really loves his job, but still, he can only think a little. Even then, just the thought gave the hero a real shock. He even wanted to leave, as if running away from the truth that had been revealed. The mistress either makes the guy want to leave, or deprives him of this wonderful opportunity, allowing him to stay nearby. Even now, the hero slows down, and then trying not to get emotional, asks the lady if she wants the man to leave. The most important thing is what the guy himself wants. For some reason, it feels as if the words seriously hurt, even though it was unintentional. The blue-eyed woman speaks as if she knows everything about this person, but in fact, this is not entirely true. A lady cannot know her true desires. For some reason, the lady is sure, according to the novel. The servant was a character who dreamed of getting into the magic tower and could not wait in the wings. As soon as the young man condemned Selena in the novel, he left without looking back and became a wizard, learning everything very quickly. It's a pity that the lady said something wrong. But in this case, the young man has time to think it over carefully and then make a final decision. The Duchess was in the garden when she was disturbed by the butler. Coincidentally, the whole family is not at home at the moment. For some reason, today, a man from the temple came to the priest. The one who arrived is personally the high priest. Regardless of the fact that Yang is a guest of the estate, the man thought that the owner of the duchy should know about the visit first. The man who appears in the main hall smiles, honored to meet Princess Selena in person. It can be said that the greeting was quite unexpected, but he seems to want to make a good impression. The brunette grabs Ian's shoulder, saying that his son left without a word, causing everyone in the monastery to worry. It seems completely uncomfortable for the guy to be next to a person who continues to put on a comedy just to please him. The child is faithful to God, And since he has finished with his work, he simply must return to his rightful place. Even without reminders from the temple, the young man must constantly want to return so as not to disappoint those who rely on him. The guy tries not to stutter, but it looks too pathetic, and ultimately he squeezes out something similar to agreement and causes laughter. Even good children can lie. The girl does not know the circumstances, but from the expression on Yana's face, she can tell that he does not want to return. The priest intervenes again, noting that the boy has lived in the temple since childhood. He must be delighted with the way he is treated in the aristocratic family. When the hero realizes that he does not deserve everything he received, he will feel ashamed. Strange because it seems that there is no one as capable as Ian. Even a lady who does nothing but lie in bed all day is treated like a mistress. But that's a different story. The lady does not have powers like the elder brother, who will inherit the family and title, or she also does not have swordsmanship. The heroine has neither magical nor divine powers, so we can say that she is just a mistress without any honorable values. Ian has every right to receive kindness and care the people he helped want the guy to be around on the estate. It is by the actions that have already been committed that the hero deserves to be around, just like the lady who says she has done nothing. The high priest continues to press, noting that the Duchess does not seem to understand everything, so it would be better to explain. He is abruptly interrupted. In fact, the boy had been thinking for days. He wishes that his little power would bring happiness to the people around him. The priest will work modestly so as not to become a burden to God, and will constantly continue to pray. The boy kneels down and does not notice the evil expression on his face, smiling through force. The hero notices that the baby has grown a lot over the years. Finally, I managed to learn to openly express my opinion, for which I can only be proud. For some reason, the words also feel false. Seeing that the Duke's family cares about the Holy Father, one no longer has to worry about his well-being. Everyone in the room noticed the expression that appeared for a moment, and it seems to be true. As soon as the boy came out of the shadow of the priest, he chirped something about helping the others and began to behave differently, but this did not last long. The man promises himself that as soon as the young man returns soon, he will regret it very much, just like Selena Hawaii. The girl asked the priest that if in the future he met Ian, he would contact her first in order to come to an agreement. This impudent girl ruined everything. At best, the priest hoped for the absence of the Duke and Duchess. But now someone insignificant is trying to interfere with the plans. The lady was mentally tired because they did not get along in character. Ian thanks the savior, thanks to whom he was able to oppose and express his desires. In fact, there was a moment when the heroine lost her temper with anger. She would not have been able to control herself. That fading look and fear in front of the high priest reminded her of herself in her past life, in front of her tyrant parents. The guy must have spent enough time in captivity. Everyone has the right to say what they want, so as not to show their weaknesses. We can't help but agree that it would be better for everyone if Ian stayed at the estate and tried hard to do something. The mistress goes to bed while Aiden helps her ask for a blanket. He sincerely apologizes for being rude last night. In fact, the heroine thought that what happened yesterday was quite sweet, but she definitely couldn't say that out loud. The blonde has the same great talent as Ian. Every time he does something, you just need to do what your heart tells you. The words can be considered correct, but if you do what your heart desires, the guy will no longer be able to be near his mistress. The day had finally come when Selena would receive a reappraisal in social circles, and finally, everything was prepared perfectly. Turning around, the hero notices a friend sitting in someone else's room since the morning. He would like to know what happened, what brought him here. Aaron is incredibly worried, so he no longer knew what else to do. The blonde is already moving to another level of anger. Today is a party at Howitt's, but if she is given help, she will refuse. The blue-eyed man remarks that this is a trivial matter to bother his little sister. You shouldn't worry so much, because no matter what, no problems will arise. The girl will most likely do everything to be the best. The guy comes closer, and while helping Lucas dry his hair, thanks him for helping his sister in difficult times. The young man believes that it wouldn't hurt for him to go to the party either. It's most likely better to talk about this with Selena herself. The preparation of the hall is already in full swing. The lady is distracted by her parents, who had business nearby, so they came in to check on their daughter. The point is not at all that the lady is not trusted. The girl is able to cope with everything herself, But the worries do not go away. In fact, when the mother was shown the plans for the party, she even cried a little because she couldn't believe that their daughter had planned something like that. The budget concept and even the menu were also impeccable. The lady wants to ask how it was prepared in the past. Despite all the problems past experience in the company is incredibly helpful in organizing routine things. Lord Lucas also helped, so there is even less reason to worry. If something happens, the woman asks to inform her immediately. During the conversation, the man froze and turned pale. He could not believe that his daughter called her mother by the wrong name. The woman completely forgot, but only spoke like that when they were alone together, both laughing, trying not to make a joke out of it. A moment later, the Duke is already shouting something about parental discrimination. She should call him Dad, since she has already decided everything. Aaron and Selena were raised equally, so there is no chance of misbehaving. The Duchess doesn't like it when her husband acts like a child, so she grabs his hand and pulls him somewhere to the side. Evening has come, so the event begins a little more, and more guests from the invitees will begin to gather. The Marquis and his wife get out of the carriage. They compliment the beautifully decorated greenhouse from which it is impossible to take your eyes off. Lady Clarence and Mr. Flatrow are sure to have a good time together this evening. Lucas listens and smiles approvingly. The next to appear was Mrs. Vivian, who, seeing her friend, begins to actively wave her arms. You can get tired of her in a matter of minutes. The lady was incredibly worried about her friend, because she wrote about how bad she felt nothing happened, but they didn't even give her the opportunity to answer. The brunette can't believe that the blue-eyed one put on the dress that she sent. It was a gift that she wanted to quickly try on and show to the world. In fact, it took a lot of determination to wear this nuclear pink shade. The lady had a duty to Jonas and was left with no choice. Selena is surrounded by girls who, like fans, are screaming about how everything suits a lady. She just nods, trying to make sure they leave her alone. Lucas carefully grabs the heroine's hand, asking if she's okay, because she's worried the ladies become even more delighted. The Sir is going to escort those gathered to their seats, thereby freeing his friend from unnecessary problems. The knight was definitely quick-witted and reasonable, because he didn't have to say anything for him to start acting. Incomprehensible thoughts creep into my head. The lady does not understand why the hero does not date anyone given his popularity in social circles. Initially, it was Lucas who was destined to be with Ariel, not his brother. But no matter how you look at it, the guy lost his relationship because of Selena. The hero is talented and handsome, so meeting someone else will not be a problem. The girl hopes for his bright future. A glass is in his hands, which has already been filled with a drink. White goes out into the middle of the hall in order to attract everyone's attention. Then complete chaos began. After an hour, the lady realized that spending the evenings was incredibly difficult. It wouldn't hurt to take a little rest before moving forward with renewed vigor. A place behind a column seems like an ideal option. The shoes begin to rub a little, which makes you want to take them off, but because of the dress, it's impossible to reach. There maybe you can call Jane. For some reason, Vivian is nearby to help. It's much better for him to relax. White apologizes for the fact that her friend had to do what servants usually do. She smiles, assuring that everything is fine. In fact, even the girl likes to sneak away like this and take off her shoes in order to give herself a little rest during the ceremony. At first, it all seemed unreal, but perhaps they really are friends. I can't believe that someone close could appear in this life. It was so much fun with Selena that the lady didn't even notice how she spilled her drink. Now she has to do something that will help her get back. A lady walks past a man she is not sure, but it seems that he was not invited to the party from the very beginning. The servant hurries to bring ice, while Aiden is sent to the mistress. The girl should not be bored during her holiday. A brunette passing by scared both of them. Because of him, ice scattered on the floor, which made them angry, although not for long. The newcomer notices the mistake and reminds you to be careful. There is no point in helping, so a rude refusal changes the mood. Asking to stay away from him, the hero throws away the servant's hand with such force that it even becomes a little unpleasant for him. An acquaintance checks if the blonde is okay. If they ran into him, a real disaster would happen. Aiden cannot get rid of the bad feeling that literally haunts him because of that young man. The Duchess reaches for the teapot, but then a man takes it in his hands. He smiles joyfully, realizing that they have finally met. Blue eyes and brown hair were not remembered from the guest list, so perhaps this is someone's partner who belatedly leaves to inquire about him from Lord Jacob. The lady understood correctly, although she hoped to the last that this was not the one in question, and hoped that it would carry her through. It's time for Cooper to appear, and he seems so nasty that he becomes uneasy. Lucas is still busy with other ladies in society. Many people talk about what a good knight and gentleman the man is. In the academy, the Lord is also a legend. The juniors are very happy to meet him, and there would not be a single person as an exception. Turning away, the blonde accidentally notices the second son of Count Cooper sitting with the Duchess at the table, smiling disgustingly. Selina must be as expressionless as ever, while Jacob continues to smile and then laugh. Aiden washes his face to come to his senses. A little suddenly, he began to literally turn inside out for some unknown reason. This may be because of that ill-fated meeting. The hero remembers complex types of magic, such as teleportation and levitation. The man was not trained in this, but out of desperation, he used it until he completely unlearned it. He should not use it. Magic, by its nature, is very sensitive, since the young man learned about the powers and began to use them by accident. All this is unstable. According to Allergen, usually you won't be able to feel something bad, but if you encounter dark forces, your body will begin to turn inside out. The magician mentioned the very effect that can now exist and manifest itself near Jacob, who passed nearby. The girl is asked if she is having fun, but she does not understand why this could suddenly happen. The hero is obviously not going to give up remembering the phrase about oranges from the Duke's engagement, which touched him very much. The lady chokes on the juice and accidentally spits it in the young man's face. There's no need to call anyone for help, but the man expected the lady to be so surprised. Blue Eyes selects a face and then leans closer, asking in a friendly way what the Duchess thinks of Lucas. The Lord is the person the maiden trusts, and the one she respects almost more than anyone else. She doesn't understand what Cooper is leading to. It's a relief the girl always has such a popular Yorga next to her, and he was afraid that she would be interested in him in the same way as other women. In truth, the brunette's heart has long been given to the beauty who sits in front of him. A smile also prevents him from showing sympathy. The guy spills the tea and asks the lady for a handkerchief. This banal trick will not work, because there will be no second meeting under the pretext of returning the thing. A blond man appears behind him, holding out a napkin. He came at the most opportune moment as always. Today, it is Lucas who is Selina's partner, so if she has problems, he is simply obliged to take it on and help. The girl did not have a scarf, so she thanks the hero, replies that it is logical that he was able to provide help. It looks like the conversation has been overheard, but then there's no reason to be sarcastic. Cooper distracts the couple by saying that everything seems to be dry, so there's no need for a napkin. It's unclear what's happening behind them, because several girls and even one man are immediately screaming that they poured something on themselves. It seems that the entire assembled crowd wants to receive from Lucas the scarf that he had previously offered to the lady. The young man is already starting to get angry and doesn't even hide it. The lady asks Jane for something, and she nods in agreement. Jacob moves towards the lady again. Before they were interrupted, there was a discussion going on about something important about feelings. The guy expresses his sympathy by openly talking about it and asks to look at him. This is the lady's first time in such a situation, and she doesn't like it. In fact, the brunette realized everything when he first looked at the beauty. She completely captured his heart. The girl understood everything, so she asks to calm down Lucas, and the lady must first help that crowd with the spilled drinks. Aiden appeared behind him, and the lady immediately noticed him. Since he had already come, it meant he could sit down next to hers. The hero brought what Howard asked for, namely a lot of scarves, but so far he has not been able to understand what is happening. Jacob cannot remain silent, and therefore, lowering his voice, asks how the servant has the right to sit at the same table with the mistress. The blonde instantly jumps up from his seat, but the girl exhaling sits him back down. She is incredibly tired. Since they had urgent business, the lady did not pay attention to Cooper, but if he so wants, the couple can change hands. The guy immediately begins to put on a show, saying that since there is something important here, they can sit together and be silent until the time comes. Beauty sums it up. She is concerned that the preparation for the appropriating guests was insufficient. Gifts from the heart were prepared for everyone in the form of scarves, beautifully tied with pinkish ribbons. Lord Lucas will be the one who will present gifts to the dear guests, and then all the girls in the hall perked up. The man promised that he would help the lady in trouble, so now he must fulfill his promise. The young man moves forward into the crowd. People again anger the hero, but still continue to shout as a sign of gratitude and promise that they will never throw away the little thing. And what is happening now is more like an autograph session for Mr. Lucas, as if he were an idol. Vivian runs up to her friend, telling her how much fun she had today. She's glad she got the invitation. The only one who keeps the whole party under control is glad that in the end, the girl had a chance to enjoy the evening. Jonas doesn't know if he can talk about something, but leaning over whispers, asking Selena to stay away from Lord Jacob. This will all sound strange, of course, but as you know, the person has an extremely terrible reputation in social circles. Vivian is really worried. The Duchess asks not to worry, and gently squeezing her palm, asks if everything is okay, if she is careful. Cooper says goodbye. Hoping that they will meet again soon, he promises that he had a good time and is incredibly happy about it. The hero already wants to kiss his hand, but the lady abruptly takes it away. He needs to get home safe and sound, but that's all his wishes for now. This character was supposed to appear only next year, when Selena turned 23 years old. Now he is in the game much earlier, and alas, there is no explanation for this. Aiden, standing at the entrance and seeing off the guests again, stumbles upon the brunette, who orders him to get out of the way. Duchess Howitt is still very immature, and one can say that the losses were worth it to get here. If everything works out, the man is confident that he will be able to make decent money on the task he was assigned. The blonde freezes clearly, hearing that Jacob wants to become independent from his family and start his own business. It's like a vision or a dream. The servant standing behind again asks his friend if he is okay. The guy deliberately bumped him with his shoulder when he ran past. Finally, the last guest left, and empty tables remained scattered around the perimeter of the greenhouse. The rumors must end. But now in society, they will talk about something else. The Duchess will be talked about as the most elegant and the party as the best. There was no trace left of the image of a vicious woman and an immature person. Perhaps that reputation was too exaggerated. The Duchess did an excellent job, and now the story of the recent incident will also remain somewhere in the past, where there is no longer access. The Lord also did a good job. It's time for both of them to go get some sleep in order to replenish the energy that was expended. Lucas calls Selena, and when she turns to ask, he shakes his head, insisting that nothing like that happened. The family, who had remained somewhere on the sidelines all this time, is already rushing towards the girl at full speed. The party really was a success. Mother believes that they cannot just leave what merit they had. They need to have a tea party in honor of the first successful event. Blue-Eyed is trying to reduce the level of joy of her parents. For some time, she wants to forget about all the noisy places. Lucas turns away. He doesn't understand what's wrong with him, and he doesn't know what exactly he wanted to say from the very beginning. Ian came in to check on the lady. She was not okay, because she had been lying in bed almost all day without getting up. The lady was simply resting after the successful completion of the event. She was not going to get up just because of laziness that had attacked her. The boy offers to transfer some energy so that he has the strength to at least get up and go for a walk. Aiden again thinks that this is all his fault. So in the morning, he appeared first with herbal tea for fatigue. There is also a silence in the room that is impossible to break. After last night, the man seems agitated. Perhaps the reason for this is Jacob's insults. No matter how the lady tries to protect the servant in a class society, people like him will continue to suffer. As you know, there is only one way to get out of the deplorable situation that each of them faces. Lucas enters the room, knocking. He brought with him mail that he picked up on the way here. Each letter is addressed to the Duchess. Almost everything was written with thanks for the past evening and how much fun everyone had. Lord Jacob responds by inviting the girl to the opera. Hearing this, the blonde almost choked on air because he remembers his vision. The girl asks the servant to write back that the lady accepts the invitation and that they will go there together. The Duke does not believe that his girlfriend will agree. You should not agree to everything, because sometimes it may not be the best option. Jacob is a different story, but that doesn't mean it's the least bit pleasant. Selena has to find some sanity in her head. There is no longer time to doubt what you dreamed about that evening, because in this case, it may not lead to the best consequences. Aiden plans to talk to the lady in the morning, but it seems there is no need for this because her voice is heard behind the closed door. The lady brought a cake as a gift, but the hero quickly grabbed her by the shoulders and returned her to the room he is afraid that someone he knows will see. The blue-eyed girl came here for only one reason, because the food eaten here was the most wonderful today she even took a fork. The man laughs easily. The lady is so calm that he thought he was strange. His eyes turn to his bare feet. The girl silently straightens her dress, as if she didn't hear the reminder about the shoes that weren't on her feet. When it gets hot, no one cares about the shoes on their feet. The hero takes off his slippers and, sitting on his knee, puts them on his feet. The young man simply doesn't want the girl to get hurt, so he tries to be careful. His shoes feel nice and warm, which makes his cheeks glow. The blonde looks nervous and asks again if Milady would like to go to the opera with Cooper this week. The blue-eyed girl carefully examines the servant's movements and emotions. It looks like the boy is simply experiencing ordinary jealousy. Lucas recalls his conversation with Aaron. The actions of the Marquise Rechapelle have recently become very illogical. The man acts as if he is a spy assigned to the imperial family. He should be on Hawaii's side. But something has changed. The rest of the people opposed to the emperor may be simple puppets of the Marquise who carry out all the decrees. What really worries the knight is the increasing number of official meetings between the man and the tower that continue. Perhaps the people from there are somehow connected with the latest events that happened a little earlier. It's already impossible to figure it out in your head. Aiden couldn't say why, but after what he saw, he couldn't tell the woman his fears. In the vision, the hero saw how a man received an order from someone to get close to the Duchess, and this was important. It seems that this was due to a clash of magical force that Alagen warned Jacob could not, but it is not clear where the mana came from. Now the blonde is confused, but this does not stop him from understanding that Cooper is a villain of pure blood. The girl exhales calmly, still thinking she can say that it would be better if the feeling caused was jealousy. In the end, the Duchess asks not to worry. She is aware that the hero is trying to harm her, so she will stay away. Despite everything, the lady was going to meet the young man. Now the servant is more interested in how he managed to find out all the details. One day the lady will want to share her secret with someone else, but she does not know when that day will come. The interlocutor again has this strange look, but she assures that everything will be completely fine. She remembered the past. The lady is not going to hide anything terrible from Aiden, so she honestly promises that one day she will dare to tell the whole truth. Howite had already left the room, but the place on the bed remained just as hot after her body. It becomes more difficult to understand true feelings, but the hero hopes that one day they will tell him everything. The girl follows forward along the path in the garden, attracting the attention of Lucas, who already opens his mouth to call Selena. In time, it is possible to notice a detail that catches the eye. The heroine follows in men's slippers several sizes larger. The Duchess herself was heading from the direction of the servants' quarters. Only one thought comes to mind about Aiden. There is a knock on the door again, but it is not the lady, because a well-known knight appears on the threshold. The lord immediately notices such small details as the bare feet of the servant and the cake box from the kitchen. So that no one notices the two, the Duke drags the blonde into the room and closes the door behind him. All that is required is an answer regarding the lady, but it is better not to imagine any disturbing thoughts about the beauty. If the boy had been an aristocrat, he would probably have received it, but in that case, it would have been illegal. If he and the lady had an equal relationship, they would even be able to communicate and exchange things. In this case, this is impossible. The man lets his interlocutor go, and turning away to hide even greater disappointment, asks not to sully the lady's honor. The guy finds no other options but to make excuses. He believes that he did nothing, so he is not going to accept the blame. Her ladyship is the one who needs to be protected. And in order for her to be okay, the young man will throw away his own life. The hero cannot do anything that will cause harm. In any case, he should be allowed to at least look after the lady. The blonde does not consider it a mortal sin that he is just there when a girl needs him. Putting his hand to the servant's mouth, the man looks back at the door, behind which he seems to hear footsteps. Jumping out, the hero sees a whole crowd of servants in pajamas, who obviously stood and listened to the conversation from the very beginning. Everyone else hid behind them, because they were scared by the sight of Lucas. One of them asked what happened here, and why the noise was heard. Without a response, Everyone is obliged to return to their rooms. Eavesdropping will be punished to the fullest extent due to the fact that it is prohibited. Now the couple is left alone again. The hero asks if the heart is to blame for what is happening. At the moment when feelings are revealed to the whole world, these people will no longer care and will only make things much worse. Both servants and aristocrats will spread rumors and point fingers at the Duchess, trying to make her regret everything. Aiden will be in danger. Let the young man like the lady, but this should not be grabbed by the whole world. Everything must be kept inside oneself until the last moment. The Duke promises that he will pretend that he did not know about today. But this is only a one-day event that will not happen again. The guy runs outside. He hates this kind of dirty games, so he is not going to participate in them. The situation in the Duke's house is now turbulent due to a timely scandal, so the best choice was to run away. According to Jane, the Lord burst into Aiden's room at night. They pushed each other and even screamed. The girl has no idea why this all happened, but she remembers that Lucas said that he wanted to look after the servant. There were conversations here and there, so of course the maid collected every piece from the lips of every acquaintance. Some people support Aiden. It's not forbidden to admire a star like Lucas, so there's nothing shameful here. The Lord was too angry, although he should not have shown such a cruel attitude towards his admirer. All the lady wants to say is that as far as the rumors are concerned, she doesn't have any preconceptions about the couple. The girl assures that she is not concerned about any rumors, but in fact this is more interesting to the Duke himself, who is involved in this. At the entrance, he is immediately greeted by Jacob, who did not dream of a quick response to the letter. Remaining as emotionless as usual, the Virgin only expresses her interest in checking. Together with the beauty, the couple who attended the party arrived. The heroine trusts these people the most. It's a pity that we didn't manage to go to the opera, because there was too little time for it, so we had to cancel. Blue Eyes interrupts her speech, telling Lucas to order dessert too. He doesn't like sweets, so he refuses. Aiden loves cakes, so in this case, it is better to order a few just for him. The lady turns to the young man again. The master calls the servant and asks for several popular desserts, despite Aiden's refusal to eat any food. Then the couple just sits in complete silence. They completely refuse to contact each other. Jacob is already starting to get angry, because this is not the first time he is interrupted mid-sentence. The Duchess does not dare behave like that. Deciding to change the subject, the brunette asks about thoughts about his confession. Of course, the lady has already thought about this. The relationship between a man and a woman cannot be so simple. The heroine believes that it is necessary to go through several stages. In their case, the relationship flows not only between the two, but also between their families. You should be careful before making a decision. The hero is not going to give up smiling from ear to ear. He proposes to turn all this into a significant event for both of the duchy. Nothing is impossible for sincere love, so you shouldn't think about it. If he is so determined, you can even agree. The beauty takes out of her pocket some document that they will have to sign. Only after this procedure will she be able to take what is happening more seriously. Cooper promises that he could even drink poison for the sake of a woman. He needs to prove his true feelings, which so far are visible only to him. For now, it is enough to sign the papers that were prepared personally by the Duchess, in case she has a loved one. The first point states that they have no right to interfere in each other's personal lives, but for treason, they will have their fingers cut off. It is further said that the property of the spouses remains with them, so there is no point in claiming property during a divorce. Of course, the most interesting things are prepared for the end, because marriage is concluded only 5 years after signing the contract on paper. If one of the couple dies during the relationship, it means that they will both be buried together, so that the other person does not find a new passion. The lady slowly sips her tea, only to notice the romance. Love to the grave is something one can only dream of. It seems to Jacob that they are laughing at him to the fullest. Now she denies, because there is only one sincerity that will remain nearby. With such terms in the contract, the lady is just a monster who really likes to play with the feelings of people who could very well fall in love. If a man says something about a hobby, then it is obvious that for him, it is to fall in love with himself and then mercilessly deceive. Obviously, it seemed that the Duchess was so naive that she would not understand anything from the very beginning. She already realized that something was wrong with this man. It is unlikely that the hero independently came up with a plan on how to rob the girl, but then who is behind him and orders it to be carried out. Surely Count Cooper's family is not aware of what their son is doing. They will have to destroy their dreams and report to the head about everything that happened. According to the novel, Jacob is a minor character who tried to deceive Selena, but was discovered and barely escaped from the wrath of that version of the girl. The lady was worried and afraid to meet him because he appeared 3 whole years earlier than expected. It seems that this man is even more of a scumbag than he initially thought. When reading, he mumbles something about how the family cannot know about the truth. The best solution would be to tell everything as it is before Hoyt himself finds out about it, and father and mother will not stop at just their fingers. The boy jumped up to run away. Lucas also went to the table to look at the contract, which seemed to interest him. The Lord is going to leave for a while, but while he is gone, Aiden is obliged to stay next to the Duchess and help. Jacob runs down the street trying to catch his breath. He was deceived when they said that the lady was completely careless and moreover stupid. Seduction is not even a question, because in the end, it seems to the hero that he will have to meet the White Knights only because of that crazy woman. The guy almost trips over a stone that is rapidly flying towards a woman with a child. Lucas catches the cobblestone right next to his face, doing it at the last moment. The lady thanks that having caught a pebble on the fly, the hero protected her baby. This picture reminds of the young man himself and his mother in the past, when everything was still good. Since there are no injuries left, the hero is forced to leave those he met. His gaze turns towards the road where Jacob is no longer visible. The man does not understand why there are so many people on the way, and why this terrible knight is running right after him. In any case, it wouldn't hurt to run away. The same hero appeared right in front of the Count, smiling and asking where the young man was going. The two need to talk to each other, but it seems that the brunette is in a hurry somewhere. According to him, some urgent matters have arisen. It won't be possible to talk next time, and the blonde himself is serious. The stone touches Jacob's nose, who is glad that it wasn't his head. The Count backs away, realizing that he will not escape. Unfortunately, this very matter will have to be postponed for now. Cooper is grabbed by the collar and pulled closer. You need to be careful, because it seems that some individuals fall out of the blue. There was complete silence in the room in order to diffuse the situation a little. The beauty hands over a piece of paper, but the hero immediately refuses. If the lady insists all that remains is to accept running his eyes over the lines, the blonde is unable to contain his laughter. The mistress's lips are also touched by a slight smile, because it's good that the servant is laughing. Aiden was gloomy almost all day. Lucas has already managed to return back to the cafe. He cannot understand why the couple smiles so radiantly at each other, as if no one exists except them. Jacob promised that he would lead a calm and quiet life. The lady begins to fall asleep from the trip because she is pretty tired. The beauty's face almost hit because of the bump, and both guys tried to pick her up. The servant came to his senses in time, allowing Lucas to do everything. The knight also does not know how to hide his feelings, because it became clear from his eyes that he was in love. My lady became the only one for such a person, which made my soul feel bad. There is complete chaos in the room, while Aaron is scattering everything further. His friend hopes that the guy has already calmed down, and there will be no more problems. Very soon that scoundrel Cooper will pay for everything, but for now it's not worth arranging anything so as not to scare him off. A spell was cast on the brunette, which allows him to forget about the customer. The hero himself did not know why he got involved in this adventure, but still tried to reach the end. The young man received an advance payment, remembers that he needs to seduce Milady, but also knows nothing else, even under threats of torture. Lucas decided that he needed to play it safe, and first of all, he sent Jacob to his people outside the kingdom. Aaron is still angry, because someone dared to do this to his sister. When the truth is revealed, the family will no longer be able to get away and try to correct their mistakes. Some kind of note appears in the hands. Current events around the name of the Duke may be connected with what is happening in the north at the same time, and something needs to be decided about this. From that very place, a secret message was sent to the estate, made by people from the clan, the forces standing against the royal family, and its methods of governance, which they dispute, had already become active. It remains to imitate for another month, and then Lucas will be able to go to that place in order to find out more. A friend would go with him, but the amount of business in the castle prevents him from doing what he planned. Ultimately, it is much better to go alone, so as not to attract unnecessary attention, which could interfere with the operation. Going outside to get some air, the young man meets the Duchess again. The lady is not even going to answer the question of why she is not in bed. So late coming closer, the heroine reminds of the fact that now it's just the two of them, which means we can tell what's been going on lately. Cooper is just a stupid pawn, but behind him, there is someone more powerful who will not just leave it all. It seems that this became the reason for the worries that made it impossible to sleep. Ignorance is not work, because everyone should know about what they are ultimately doing. This will help to come to a good conclusion. The Lord cannot resist Milady, so he is going to tell what he knows at the moment. Now everything has fallen into place. Spells were used on Cooper, so the magic collided with the light emanating from Aiden. This will not help in any way in finding the culprit. The war for power is intensifying around the king and the duke. Although this was not in the novel, this is due to the many changes that occurred with the arrival of the girl. Selena is already lost in her thoughts, but she is asked not to worry so much, because in the end, everything will be resolved as quickly as possible. For a second, it seemed that the young man knew everything, but he interrupted. He would have to go somewhere, and obviously, it would take a month or even more. Before his departure, the hero wants to talk about what has been accumulating in his soul for a very long time. Without backing down, the blonde says that he is in love with the Duchess. She freezes with her eyes round in surprise. Of course, the beauty also likes Lucas, because this is quite logical given his good qualities. The heroine runs away, saying that she needs to rest. Stopping there, the guy can't hold back the pain and starts laughing. The very words that I had to run away from as quickly as possible also ring in my head. The lady opens the door to the room. Unexpectedly, but the heart begins to beat faster. The lady sincerely hoped that the young man did not experience such feelings, but she was mistaken. Lucas himself doesn't understand what to do. The bottle of wine has run out, which forced him to go down to the wine shop where he found Aiden sitting on the floor. The hero wonders what the servant forgot in such a place, but receiving silence in response, opens another cap and begins to drink. The young man is already about to leave, arguing that he does not want to disturb the aristocrat with his simple company. At the moment, there are no classes, because they are two people folded into a wine cellar in order to quench the pain. It wouldn't hurt for the two to talk. Aiden is no longer working hours, so if it's about work, he should come over tomorrow morning. In the book about the history of the duchy, there is an entry about a magician who was a commoner. He was given the title and wealth for his services to the empire. It's hard to believe at first, but that case was extremely unusual, so there was only one option left. If a servant becomes a magician, he has the opportunity to receive a title, and then life will change 360 degrees. Apparently, Aiden made a decision. But in this case, all that remains is to ask why they suddenly decided to tell him about it. A man cannot stand meanness, and since the boy thinks that the world is unfair, he can do everything to change it. If fate cannot be changed, only the destiny will end. Lucas will not sit idly by, and will be next to the Duchess. It doesn't matter what happens, but for now, all that remains is to wait. The last chance is only given, sometimes. Already in the morning, the hero came to the girl to talk about the magic tower. She thinks that this is a great idea. The guy falls to his knees, asking if he will be allowed to return after his training is completed. The girl thought it was obvious. The young man would return and become a protective magician for White, who needed it. This is all a little worrying, because perhaps the servant wanted to leave in some other way. They should sign the agreement in advance. The boy is trying to put all his thoughts into words. He does not understand whether he can hope that there will be something between them after a new beginning. The beauty smiles, promising that they can talk about it. She is not even going to ask what exactly they are talking about. The knights on the court constantly pay attention to their leader. Lately, he has become more thoughtful. Aiden has already reported to the head of the house and handed over all the affairs that he had. Most likely, the Lord immediately sent the young man to the magic tower after he spoke about his decision. The blonde still cannot believe that his dream will come true. In the pitchless darkness, a ray of light appears and breaks forward. The girl closes the book and looks around the room. She turns to the Lord, wondering what he needed at such a late hour. The time has come when the hero wanted to fulfill his true desire. He had already mentioned this earlier, but now there is a suitable option. If it's too early, it won't work. But that doesn't mean everything will be changed, because the blonde isn't going to give up anything. The lady is trying to stop the trembling in her hands, holding the scissors she has never really cut off anyone's hair, so now she is worried. The young man constantly encourages the heroine, and she is already bringing the device to her hair. All that remains is to ask why such a decision suddenly appeared. The season changes, and changes also occur within the hero, which will ultimately help him become better. The cut tail is lying on the floor. The hair symbolizes a new beginning in life, and the best stage that will help you realize the truth. In the room, the servant is already greeted by friends, who are all smiling happily. The main party has arrived. A magician appeared among those gathered, so it became a normal start to the celebration. Even if the hero is not confident in his abilities, now he will definitely become a real magician in the future. Perhaps in the future, friends will not have the opportunity to congratulate the guy, because he will not contact him just like that. It is too sad to say such a thing. This will be the last time they all raise a toast together. The hero will rise even higher and become a bright star. In the future, I would like to turn up my nose and brag to others that a former colleague has become the greatest magician. Ian, who has already drunk a fair amount of wine, begins to sob, noticing that everyone gathered turns out to be such good people. The hero couldn't control himself at all, so now he can't stop pouring out all his feelings. Aiden can't stop smiling. He hopes they're all prepared. Lucas tenses up towards his horse, who is already waiting for him outside his new hairstyle, reminiscent of his childhood. Selena found herself in the garden again. Although the sun had not yet risen, it seems that the lady came out to see her friend off in person. Before heading back to the room, the lady wishes you a good trip and asks you to be careful. The horse rushes forward to exit the garden. What the beloved said was more than enough. The time has come to leave even for Aiden. He has already packed his suitcase, which fits his whole life in the mansion. It's quite difficult to leave everything as it is, but the young man overcomes himself, crossing the threshold into the street. The Lord ordered the coachman to take the servant to the magic tower, so you should hurry so as not to be late. Before leaving, the blonde goes under Milady's window. He couldn't say goodbye to her, as he was getting ready in a hurry after yesterday. A little more, and the time will come for the beauty to awaken. So perhaps it would be worth waiting to say goodbye. Aiden acts like a child, but it is better to leave as quickly as possible in order to return after becoming a magician. Opening the door of the carriage, the hero freezes because inside is the Duchess already completely assembled. The girl waited because she wanted to see each other before she left. It seemed like it would be unreal. Selena asks her to focus on how to show her skills better and not worry about unnecessary things. Once upon a time, a lady asked to tell her what a friend was thinking about when she was unconscious after falling from a tower. The young man likes the beauty incredibly much. It seems that it all started from the moment they met. Even when the blue-eyed girl hated the servant, he still felt something inside, something undying. All this time, Aiden loved his mistress, but now he asks for forgiveness for even daring to do this. Now all this has been told, because they will not see each other for a very long time. The girl allows her to finish her thought, and then gently kisses the hand of the guy sitting opposite him. The hero has matured, but this conversation will have to be postponed until the young man becomes a full-fledged magician. Giving one last glance, the lady asks not to linger, and carefully steps off the carriage, making the man blush. The wind began to blow in different directions, hinting at the end of the story, and also at its beginning, which would devote itself to the two heroes. Autumn has come, or rather the first autumn in the beauty's life, and because of the noticeably empty places nearby, it's a little sad. When the seasons change and the stars align again, perhaps the couple will meet again to begin their story. Until then, all that remains is to say goodbye. But only for a short time. The Duchess goes to the Duke, leaving her thoughts in deep consciousness.